Chapter 413. Lu Cheng and Yen Zheke were silent for a while. They walked side by side to the entrance of the hotel. My brother must have been scolded by Grandpa for awakening his supernatural ability, Yen Zheke said faintly as they walked. Lu Cheng sighed. He did pay a lot. Anyway, he won the championship and his wish was fulfilled. There's no need to argue with your grandpa anymore. As someone who had fully experienced high school, he actually did not lack the experience of parting and sadness. However, at that time, his mentality and worldview were far from mature enough. He was full of longing for the future and felt that meeting again was something that could happen often. His feelings for such things were more muddle-headed and not deep enough. But now the more he understood, the more he knew, the more he cherished the days when everyone fought together, suffered together, and broke through together. He understood that there might not be a future for some people and some things once it was over. Therefore, he couldn't help but feel sad. Luckily, Lin K was my brother-in-law. In the future, he would also enter the pro scene, so they would see each other many times. It was just that it would be difficult for them to work together for the same goal like they had in the past 2 years. Yeah, but it's still so sad. Yen Zheke pouted and looked wronged. Lu Cheng was about to say something when he saw his father-in-law and mother-in-law coming out of the revolving door. He straightened his back and cleared his throat in a low voice. But he didn't let go of the girl's hand, as if he was saying something. Dad, Mom. Yen Zheke called twice, her cheeks turning red, but she didn't retract her right hand. Uncle Yen. Auntie G. Lu Cheng followed suit and didn't feel at a loss. Yen Kai looked at their clasped hands and nodded slightly in response to Lu Cheng's greeting. Okay. He opened and closed his mouth, as if he wanted to say something, but didn't in the end. Ji Mingyu laughed and said, Lu, how's your injury? Are you okay? You did a good job in the competition tonight. You surprised everyone again. Auntie, you flatter me. It's not a big deal. I'll be fine in a few weeks. Lu Cheng didn't show his eloquence or humor, but answered honestly. Good. Take care of yourself. Ku, sleep with me tonight. We can have a good chat. Let your father sleep on the sofa outside. Ji Mingyu looked at her daughter with a smile. Okay. Yen Zheke nodded slightly and turned to look at Lu Cheng. I'm going to my parents' place first. She paused, pursed her lips, tilted her head slightly and smiled. See you tomorrow. See you tomorrow. He waved to Yen Kai and Ji Mingyu and said, Uncle Auntie goodbye. See you tomorrow. Ji Mingyu chuckled and repeated her daughter's words. Yen Kai nodded elegantly. Watching the family of 3 leave, Lu Cheng sighed to himself. The atmosphere between his parents-in-law was indeed awkward and subtle. Even he, who had seen such a big scene before, was quite reserved. He wondered if someone as strong as Talker would still be able to act freely in front of his parents-in-law. While letting his mind wander, Lu Cheng returned to his room and turned on the lights. On the right was a big bed that he hadn't slept on for many days. On the left were items that were strewn everywhere. Lu Cheng suddenly felt like he had returned to a lonely home after a business trip for several months. The room was bright and full of loneliness and strangeness. This is the night after winning the championship? I'm the only one left? Lu Cheng sighed. Without changing his shoes, he walked to the floor-to-ceiling window. Outside, the skyscrapers were towering, lights were everywhere, and the Milky Way was everywhere. It was both prosperous and lonely. After staring blankly for a while, Lu Cheng suddenly felt his phone vibrate. He quickly took it out and saw Yen Zheke's message. I'm chatting with my parents. They have a good impression of you. Yen Zheke smiled shyly. Lu Cheng's lips suddenly curled up. The sadness he felt just now disappeared without a trace. He replied with a smirk. So, we can get married now? If you wish. The revolution hasn't succeeded yet. Comrade, you still need to work hard. Yen Zheke said. Lu Cheng couldn't help but laugh. He raised his hand to look at the love ring, and then looked outside again. This time, he only felt that the lights in the night revealed a faint but lasting warmth, illuminating the way home for the late traveler. The next day, Lu Cheng, who had won the nationals, woke up early as usual. He didn't relax or slack off. His arm was injured, so it was difficult for him to practice many of his moves. He could only focus on internal training, footwork, and leg work. In the morning light, he turned and created wind, whistling as he wished. At 7:40 a.m. Lu Cheng finished his usual training and returned to the hotel. He washed his body with difficulty. At this time, he, who was completely free, suddenly had some thoughts. He felt that the experience of winning the nationals last night was still so unreal and so dreamy. If the gold medal wasn't right beside him, he probably wouldn't have believed it. It hasn't even been a day and I'm already thinking about it. Lu Cheng shook his head and laughed. Following the throbbing in his heart, he took the card, left the room, and prepared to take a taxi to the martial arts arena in the capital. Nothing happened along the way. The skyscrapers on both sides of the road were similar in every city. Lu Cheng was in a leisurely mood. He looked around with interest and occasionally chatted with Yan Zheka. Unknowingly, he arrived at his destination. He put on a pair of plain glasses, put his hands in his pockets, and strolled to the entrance of the martial arts arena. In the surrounding square, the crowd that had entered and left last night had long disappeared. Even the ground was clean, leaving no trace of the previous battle. Passing by several men and women who came to open the door, Lu Cheng's mood became extremely good. Even the outline of the tiles under his feet was pleasing to the eye. The entrance of the arena had been reopened. It was empty and sparsely populated. On both sides of the wall, there were posters of his confrontation with Pang Leyun. Smiling, Lu Cheng put his hands in his pockets and walked step by step to the arena. He found a place to sit down and softly looked at the place where the battle took place last night. He looked at the two children who were fighting with their fists and feet. Their moves were normal, but their bodies had yet to develop, and their strength was insufficient. Their footsteps were light, and they did not have any substantial power. Moreover, they had learned from the movies and television shows. Every move they made required a shout, and the fight was lively and lively. "Hey! Be careful! Don't hurt yourself!" Several parents kept reminding him by the side until he was driven to the stands by the coach. Noticing that Lu Cheng was looking at the arena with a smile, an extroverted parent laughed and said, "Children insist on learning martial arts. We have no choice but to accompany them while we are free." Lu Cheng thought for a while and said with a smile, "Practicing martial arts is a good thing." As he said, he stood up and added, "Moderate training is good for development. If not, it will hinder development." Ah! The parents looked at each other in confusion. Lu Cheng did not say anything. He put his hands in his pockets and walked to the door. When he was about to go out, he looked back and looked at the familiar yet strange arena. Vaguely, from the perspective of a bystander, he seemed to see Lin Kei lifting the trophy, himself shouting to the sky, and Yan Zheka running to the arena. The corners of his mouth curled up as he turned around and left the place. Outside the arena, Lu Cheng took out his phone, took a picture of the entrance and sent it to Yan Zheka. "Ah, martial arts arena." Yan Zheka was surprised at first, and then she said angrily, "Why didn't you take me?" "Let's go together next time." Lu Cheng said with a silly smile, "I just had a sudden impulse." Yan Zheka giggled with a hand over her mouth emoji. "My silly Ching actually has such a rough side." After that, she added, "Empress Dowager asked you to come for lunch. The address is..." Lu Cheng's leisurely mood faded away. He asked, "Do you want to buy cigarettes, alcohol and fruits? I think I should bring these things for my first visit." "No need," Yan Zheka said with a confused expression. "It's not a formal visit. We're just having lunch together. Besides, we're still students. But it's the first time I'm meeting your parents. I have to show my respect to them." Lu Cheng said with an emoji touching his chin. "No one will blame you for being polite. I don't have experience. I'll ask Empress Dowager." Yan Zheka hesitated for a while and decided to ask for help. Lu Cheng said with a smile, "Empress Dowager probably doesn't know. Your dad only visited you for the first time a few years after you were born. It's okay. The focus is on my parents. If they think it's okay, then it's okay." Yan Zheka paused for a while and said, "Empress Dowager said you don't need to bring anything. She wants you to relax and not be too cautious." "Okay. I'll come over shamelessly?" Lu Cheng asked. Yan Zheka said with an emoji of rolling eyes, "Don't rush. Go back and change your clothes first. Wear that dark-colored shirt. And, looking at her nagging, Lu Cheng suddenly laughed and said, "Ku, are you a little nervous?" I'm just worried that you don't know what to do. Yan Zheka said with a roll of the eyes emoji. Hee hee. Lu Cheng didn't expose her and replied, I'll listen to Coach Yan's instructions. Because she cared about herself and their future, Ku was nervous and uneasy. Yeah, me too. Back at the hotel, he took out his clothes and put them on according to Yan Zheka's instructions. Then he called a taxi and was ready to go. When he got to the lobby, he saw Li Mao, Li Xiaofan, and the others who were happily going out to play. He could feel their happy mood. Waving goodbye, Lu Cheng stood at the door and waited for the taxi. The sun was shining brightly. Chapter 4:14. The place for dinner was a courtyard without any sign. When Lu Cheng walked to the door, Yan Zheka, in a white knee-length dress, was already waiting outside. Her beautiful black hair was blown by the wind through the alley, gently dancing in the wind. It was as beautiful as a picture scroll. Seeing her boyfriend, her eyes lit up. She stepped forward and helped Lu Cheng to tidy up the collar and wrinkles of his shirt. She smiled and said, Don't be nervous. Just eat and talk. I wasn't nervous before. Now that you mention it, I feel a little nervous. Lu Cheng deliberately made a joke. Yan Zheka's beautiful eyes sparkled. She glanced at him, took his uninjured hand, and turned towards the yard. Let's go. Passing through the mottled gate, the vines on the flower rack, and the clear little pond, Lu Cheng and Yan Zheka entered the row of houses on the east side, into the quiet and secluded warm pavilion, surrounded by the faint fragrance of flowers. A quaint square table was placed by the window. Outside, flowers were blooming, leaves were lush, and waves were gently swaying. Lu Cheng didn't have time to look at the calligraphy and paintings hanging on the wall or the objects in the treasure pavilion. He cast his eyes on the square table and his father-in-law and mother-in-law. Hello, uncle and auntie. Sit down. Ji Mingyu smiled and pointed to the seat opposite Yan Kai. Okay. Lu Cheng sat down with Yan Zheka. Just as the awkward and subtle atmosphere was brewing, Ji Mingyu said with a smile, In terms of the local cuisine of the capital, this one ranks in the top 5 in my mind. And the environment is more suitable. Hee hee. I prefer Xiaofan food now. You should be able to get used to it. Actually, I'm not a picky eater. The ingredients are not exotic and the taste is not bad. I don't have a problem. Lu Cheng responded with a smile. Ji Mingyu nodded. It's not a big deal to use the best ingredients to make delicious food. But it's a real skill to use ordinary ingredients to make ordinary dishes that people can't stop praising. The combination of the two, the best ingredients, and the real skill, makes delicious food. Like this one. Yan Zheka asked deliberately to liven up the atmosphere. With the domineering Empress Dowager taking the initiative to lead the conversation, the awkward atmosphere faded away. Lu Cheng felt more at ease and answered all the questions in a well-behaved manner. Yan Kai didn't talk to him much. He just echoed Ji Mingyu's words from time to time, or glanced at Yan Zheka who kept putting food into her semi-disabled boyfriend's bowl. His heart ached for his daughter's thoughtfulness. Ku had really grown up. Dishes were put on the table and taken away one by one. Lu Cheng, who already had an inhuman appetite, was too embarrassed to show his true colors. He mainly chatted and ate as a supplement. Well, the dishes are really good, but the portion is not enough. Fortunately, the Empress Dowager ordered more than 10 portions. She is indeed a martial arts aristocratic family. She even paid attention to these details. He thought silently. At the end of the conversation, Yan Kai glanced at him, took a sip of tea, and took the initiative to ask for the first time. Lu, what are your plans for the future? Arrangements? Lu Cheng was stunned for a moment. Just as he was about to organize his words, Yan Kai added, Your master has a close relationship with the military, so there must be some disputes in this regard. Do you want to take this path or play professional matches? Uncle Yan, I'm actually very afraid of death. Lu Cheng thought about it and said self-deprecatingly, If it's not necessary, I really don't want to risk my life. Playing professional matches suits me better. Yan Kai nodded slightly. Do you have any goals? To become a physical invulnerability expert? Yes, Lu Cheng answered honestly. First, all the martial artists I'm familiar with are all physical invulnerability experts. I hope to have the strength to challenge them and compete with them. Second, he paused and continued. Second, Because grandparents are both physical invulnerability experts. Yen Zhika's eyes curved into a smile and she bit her lip. She wanted to say something coquettishly, but because her parents were present, she forced herself to hold it in. Yen Kai seemed to be reminded of the past. He was suddenly touched. After a moment of silence he said, "Not bad. Work hard. Although I consider myself successful in my career and have good self-control, every time I meet my parents-in-law who are physical invulnerability experts, I still have mixed feelings. Besides, most of Mingyu's business depends on the Ji family and the two physical invulnerability experts." Yen Kai didn't say anything more. Ji Mingyu changed the topic and made the atmosphere more natural again. In the end, she smiled at Lu Cheng and said, "Lu, are you going back to Songqing tomorrow morning?" "Yes, the flight is after 10. Lu Cheng answered honestly. Ji Mingyu turned to Yen Zhika. "Ku, come with us today. When we reach the capital, we have to visit some elders." "Okay." Yen Zhika agreed in a crisp voice. After saying goodbye, she walked Lu Cheng to the door of the courtyard. "That's it?" Lu Cheng looked back and asked blankly. This was completely different from what he imagined meeting his parents-in-law. "That's right. What else do you want to do?" Yen Zhika blinked her eyes and asked him in amusement. "Shouldn't you ask me about the details? Like my surname, my name, where I'm from, where I'm going, how many people are in my family, how many acres of land each person has, how many cows are in the fields?" Lu Cheng answered in a joking tone. According to other people's experience, such meetings were always followed by interrogation. Yen Zhika laughed. "It's not like they don't have the means to find out your details. Even if they don't, they should ask me in private first." "Who would ask you directly?" "That's so rude and embarrassing." "Okay." Lu Cheng was relieved. Yen Zhika pursed her lips. Suddenly, she turned her head to the side and added, "Empress Dowager is very satisfied with you now. She thinks you're talented and reliable. When it comes to being able to do what she says, she supports you. My dad can only accept it." Lu Cheng was delighted. He deliberately exaggerated. This is called the more a mother-in-law looks at her son-in-law, the more satisfied she is? "In your dreams." Yen Zhika turned back and rolled her eyes at him, but her eyes were full of unconcealable joy. They chatted for a while before going back. Lu Cheng had nothing to do in the afternoon, so he relaxed. However, he didn't have a gathering with his high school classmates in the capital. He just chatted with them on QQ for half a day. At night, Chi Fong called him at around 10 o'clock as per her daily habit. She wanted to share with him how many congratulations she had received today. The next day, Lu Cheng didn't relax. He still went to the nearby park to practice. When he was about to finish, he suddenly found his master standing beside him with a wine pot. Lin Kei was caught back to Shushen's study. "He probably won't come back. What's your plan?" Geezer sure raised his chin. Without waiting for Lu Cheng's reply, he continued, "I've helped your principal win the championship, and I've rested enough. You can barely finish your apprenticeship, so it's time to leave. Brat, do you want to enter the professional competition in advance? Or what?" "Master is leaving too." Lu Cheng was in a trance, but the idea in his heart became clearer and firmer. He thought for a while and said, "Master, I've improved to my current level in 1.5 years. I'm leaving too quickly. This national competition has exposed many problems. I want to settle down for a year, and enter the professional competition when I've reached the inhuman stage." "Well, this may be better. Also, Lin Kei is gone. You're gone too. If I leave too, won't the martial arts club return to its previous state?" "Yes, it's stronger than before, but everyone hasn't had time to grow up. It's likely that they won't be able to enter the division next semester. This will be a big blow to them. Besides, the students of Songqing University have finally supported us again. They must be very disappointed and sad if we suddenly return to the starting point. I think I want to stay for another year and lead the others. I'll leave when they grow up and have new blood. By that time, I'll be in my senior year and won't have many classes. Even if I leave early, I can still get a diploma." Geezer sure smiled, drank a mouthful of wine and said, "I knew it. You little brat. Just lift your butt a little. I know what shit you want to shit." Suddenly erupting with superpowers is something that Lin Kei can do, and you will definitely choose to stay for another year. However, when the time comes, this old man has some things for you to do. What things? Lu Qing asked in surprise. Things related to the 9 words formula and Emperor Yen force. I'll pick some simple things for you to do by yourself. You'll gain something and also train yourself. We'll talk about it when the time comes, Shi said seriously, which was rare for him. Because he didn't have the Emperor Yen force that evolved from Zhu Rong force, Lu Cheng's frost force didn't evolve into ice spirit force in order to balance ice and fire. Okay. Lu Cheng suppressed his curiosity and didn't ask further. At this time, Shi clicked his tongue and put his hands behind his back. Settle down well. Let's see how long it takes for you to reach the inhuman stage. After the training, the members of the martial arts club gathered and rushed to the airport to fly back to Songqing. Along the way, the others only knew that Lin Ke had returned to Shushan's study to recuperate. They were very excited to return home in glory. Lu Cheng revealed to Yen Zheka that his master was also leaving. Both of them were very sad. After getting off the plane, a school bus came to pick them up. Lu Cheng and the others returned to the new campus of Songqing University after a long absence. This time, the school bus stopped directly outside the martial arts arena so that they could put the Nationals champion trophy in the honor room first. On Monday, they would meet the principal to receive the commendation. After getting off the bus and walking to the entrance of the martial arts arena, Lu Qing turned his head and complained to Yen Zheka with a smile. Suddenly, it feels a little strange. While talking, the two approached the entrance. Suddenly, they were stunned. Because the inside was full of students. Students spontaneously filled the seats. There were thousands of them, both male and female. They were holding banners and shouting in unison in an organized manner. We're here. We're the champions. The warm and surging atmosphere hit him in the face. Lu Cheng's heart suddenly settled down and unconsciously revealed a smile. We're the champions. End of part 2. Chapter 4:15. Ding. A message rang. Lu Cheng picked up his phone and found that the champion's prize money had been transferred to his account. Your savings account ending with XXXX received 250000 yuan electronically at 9:45 on April 30th. Current balance is 904,724.84 yuan. Since this National University martial arts competition had attracted a lot of attention, the broadcasting copyright fee and ticket income had also increased. Every team that made it to the next round could get at least 500,000 yuan, which could be used to cover the transportation fee, accommodation fee for more than half a month, bus rental fee, and training ground rental fee. There was still some left over, which could be used to give some subsidies to the coaches and team members. If a team entered the top 8, they could get at least 800,000 yuan. The top 4 would get 1,100,000 yuan, the second place would get 1,400,000 yuan, and the champion would get 1,800,000 yuan. This time, Songqing University was even more generous than during the preliminaries. After deducting 380,000 yuan for various expenses, they only took 300,000 yuan for management fee. As the core members, Shi, Lu Cheng, and Lin Ke each got 250,000 yuan. Yen Zheka, who had more fights and won the key victory in the capital, got 100,000 yuan. Li Mao, who fought until he was injured, got 80,000 yuan. Kai Zongming, who fought alone, got 60,000 yuan. Lin Hua, who fought against the He brothers, got 40,000 yuan. Sun Jian, He Zi, and Wang Dali, the 3 substitutes, got 15,000 yuan each. Li Xiaofan, who did daily chores, got 10,000 yuan. As for the rest, the team members who participated in the special training but didn't go to the capital got 3,000 yuan each. The rest went to the public account of the martial arts club to cover their daily expenses, such as computer maintenance, dinner parties. Unknowingly, I'm going to be a millionaire soon. Lu Cheng took a screenshot and showed off his little bank account to Yen Zheka, feeling both happy and amused. He didn't think that he was rich, but as a college student, he didn't need to buy a house for the time being. He didn't need to consider buying a car, so he didn't need to prepare for his wedding, honeymoon expenses, funds to feed his children, and future retirement savings. What's more, he could go to the ice god sex business and get some elixirs and ingredients every month. He spent most of his time on campus and only went out for a date once every 1 or 2 weeks. No matter how much he ate, As long as he didn't chase after the best ingredients, he wouldn't consume too much. Adding all of these together, even including the extra elixirs for the swordsman formula, he had used less than 100,000 elixirs since the middle of February. In the past, Lu Cheng would have been under a lot of pressure to make money. However, with Wu Ting's father's endorsement contract of 700,000 yuan and the prize of the national competition champion of 250,000 yuan, it was inevitable that he would feel that no matter how much money he spent, he wouldn't be able to spend it. Looks like I'm still too naive. He silently gave himself a thumbs up. Yan Zhuka replied quickly. My bonus has arrived. Including mine, you're a millionaire. Shouldn't we say that our family happens to be millionaires? Lu Cheng proudly pushed up his sunglasses and casually said, I've finished packing. Now I'm here to look for you. They had already made plans for a trip on the 1st of May. Thinking that they didn't have classes for the first half of the month and had to rely on self-study, they decided to leave early and return late. Not only could they avoid the traffic rush hour, but they could also almost double their holiday. What a wonderful thing. Yan Zhuka replied with a blank expression. Wait for a while. I'll put something on and do it a little. Are you going to put on makeup? What a serious treatment. I'm a little flattered. Lu Cheng replied with a raised eyebrow expression. Didn't you say that I pay special attention to girls and that I'm not serious about dating you? Humph, I'll fulfill your wish. Yan Zhuka sent an emoji of looking up at the sky. I'm looking forward to it. Lu Cheng began to imagine. Putting down his phone, he looked around in his free state. He happened to see model worker Zhang Jingye carrying his luggage and walking to the door, passing by him. Going on a trip with your girlfriend? Lu Cheng asked with a smile. Yeah, you too. The northwestern man Zhang Jingye glanced at the big backpack on the table. Yeah. You're not going to class in the afternoon? Lu Cheng teased. Zhang Jingye looked at him from the corner of his eyes and laughed. I think you're not going either. Yeah, what a coincidence. Lu Cheng replied exaggeratedly. What a coincidence. Zhang Jingye replied with a smile and walked out of the door of the small dormitory. At this time, the head of the dormitory, Zhao Chong, took out a few books and stuffed them into his bag. He joked, I'm envious of you guys who have girlfriends. I can only focus on class. Hey, Chong, didn't you say that you wanted to make a move on an old classmate? Lu Cheng asked curiously. During the winter vacation, Zhao Chong reconnected with a high school classmate who was also studying in Songqing. In the past few months, they had been chatting passionately. In the dormitory, he announced that he would seize the opportunity to make a move on her and get rid of the label of being single. Zhao Chong coughed twice and said with a blush, I'm just thinking about it. Classmate, you can't just think about it when it comes to chasing a girl. You have to put it into action. Don't be afraid of failure. Lu Cheng first reminded him seriously and then snickered, You'll get used to it if you fail too many times. Anyway, there's the Casanova next door. It's not wrong to ask for more advice. Zhao Chong suddenly sighed. If I were half as capable as you, I would have made a move on her with full confidence. Since you said so, what else can I do? I can only reluctantly be proud of it. Lu Cheng smiled and spread out his hands. But then again, when I mustered up the courage to chase my coup, I didn't have much ability. I just used Piao Rou and that's how confident I was. He jokingly ran his fingers through his hair. Of course, to be honest, the substantial breakthrough in his relationship with Ku was because he had put her in his shoes during the Warrior Sage Challenge tournament. He had gone through a period of high-spirited and miraculous journey with her. He had also shown the qualities and potential that made the girl feel reliable. Mustering up the courage to chase was a necessary condition, but not a sufficient one. After all, there was no rule in the world that if you were to chase a girl, she would have to accept it. You're right. Zhao Chong seemed to have just thought of this point. He seriously pondered and said, Forget it. An elder used his own life experience to teach us that we should study more while we are young and grasp more knowledge in all aspects. We shouldn't waste our time on love. Lu Cheng was speechless and watched Zhao Chong carry his bag and leave the dormitory. After playing with his phone for a while, he finally received a message from Yan Zhuka. The girl said, You can go out in 5 minutes. Okay. Lu Cheng quickly replied and carefully put his right arm through the strap of the backpack to carry his luggage. I'd better wait at the door of Ku's dormitory for these 5 minutes. When he was about to step out, old Qiu Zhigao ran back with sweat all over his face and shouted, "Damn, I'm late, I'm late." He looked up and saw Lu Cheng. He smiled and asked with expectation, "Cheng, do you think it's possible for me to reach the amateur third pin before my senior year?" After almost 4 semesters of hard work, he sadly found that he was not cut out for studying. Although he had never failed a course, he was not in the top 20% of the class. He had not even won the lowest scholarship. No matter how hard he tried, he could not catch up. So he began to think about the problem realistically. He planned to pick up martial arts and get a certificate of amateur third pin, which would increase his chances of finding a job in his senior year. With your physique and strength, as long as you can hold more than 3 times a week, there's a good chance. Lu Cheng answered pertinently. Qiu Zhigao suddenly beamed with joy. In his mind, Lu Cheng was already a grandmaster in the martial arts circle of the university. If he said he had no problem, then there was no problem. Okay, if you have time, please give me some advice. Feel free to tell me if you need anything. Old Qiu was in a hurry to go to class. He hurriedly packed his bag and ran into the dormitory bathroom to take a cold shower. Phew, everyone's college development is different. Lu Cheng sighed and left the small dormitory with his bag. When he passed by the next door, he glanced at him casually and was suddenly stunned. Student Xiao Ming was immersed in his studies. Occasionally, he would write furiously and draft a manuscript. Holy sh*t, what kind of blow did you get? Lu Cheng was shocked and blurted out. Kai Zhoming looked up and said grumpily, "What's wrong with studying hard? I haven't been in class for almost a month. I have to make up for it." As he spoke, he revealed a self-deprecating smile. "I didn't say it. My Feng Yuan said it." "Then why don't you go to the classroom to study by yourself?" Lu Cheng suddenly realized and asked subconsciously, "Is there a problem with studying by myself in the dormitory?" Little Ming asked in confusion, "Aren't you afraid that you can't resist the temptation of computer games?" Lu Cheng laughed. "Since mobile games became popular, I can play in the classroom if I want to. I don't care about appearances." Kai Zhongming answered righteously. Lu Cheng clicked his tongue and said, "But the atmosphere in the classroom is different. Everyone is studying. You will be embarrassed to play mobile games by yourself. So you will control yourself." Kai Zhongming snorted and said with a look of disdain, "Cheng, do you think I'm the kind of person who will be influenced by others and be affected by the atmosphere and then stop playing games and studying seriously?" "No." Lu Cheng gave him a thumbs up, turned around, and rushed to the door. After waiting for a few minutes outside the third dormitory, Lu Cheng saw his girlfriend walking out gracefully with a new suitcase. Her bangs were elegant, her facial features were delicate, her dress was elegant, and her legs were straight. She was like a painting. Ku is so beautiful after dressing up. Lu Cheng didn't hide his loving and burning eyes. Yan Zheka raised her chin slightly and looked away proudly. "Let me do it." Lu Cheng reached out to take her suitcase. "No need. I'll take it myself, you handicapped person." Yan Zheka glanced at him. Lu Cheng laughed and said, "Handicapped? What the hell is handicapped?" "Hee hee." Yan Zheka smiled and then turned to him. "You have to hold my hand when you have time." Lu Cheng smiled and said, "It's okay. I'm not wearing a splint. It's not a problem to hold a fairy's hand." Yan Zheka was about to say something when her phone rang. It was a call. "My grandpa." She glanced at it and said to Lu Cheng in confusion. Then she chose to pick it up. "Hello, Grandpa." "Hello, Ku." Ji Zhenjiang's slightly old voice laughed. "Bring Lu here on the 1st of May. Let me and your grandma see him." Chapter 4:16. Ah! Yan Zheka was a little confused at her grandpa's order. She looked at Lu Cheng and didn't reply directly. What the hell is going on? Why is Grandpa suddenly asking me to take Cheng to Jiangnan? Why didn't he say so earlier? Lu Cheng's senses were very strong now. He had already heard everything in front of him. While thinking, he nodded to his girlfriend with a smile, indicating that he was fine with it. Although he was disappointed that he couldn't travel with Ku alone, getting the approval of her elders would give her a strong sense of security. Anyway, there will be similar opportunities in the future. After asking for her boyfriend's opinion, Yen Zheka came back to her senses. She puffed up her cheeks and said, "Grandpa, why didn't you say so earlier? Cheng and I have other plans." Okay, we'll come over. We'll change it right away." Ji Zhenjiang smiled and said, "I thought you would take the initiative to bring him to see me. But after waiting day after day, there was still no news. So I had to be thick-skinned and invite him myself." Yen Zheka blushed and smiled embarrassedly. "I was thinking of waiting for the summer vacation." She was afraid that her silly Cheng would be bullied, so she planned to wait until Lu Cheng reached the inhuman stage before bringing him to the Ji family. "Let's do it today. Send me Lu's identity information. I'll ask someone to arrange the itinerary for you." Ji Zhenjiang chuckled. After the call, Yen Zheka glanced at Lu Cheng and said coquettishly, "Grandpa, you're too much. We've already booked the plane tickets and hotel before you tell us." "It's okay. Traveling anywhere is still traveling." Lu Cheng smiled comfortingly. "But my strategy won't be of any use. Coach Yen, we'll have to rely on you to lead the way." "Don't worry, I won't lose you." Yen Zheka smiled and was touched by her boyfriend's understanding. Then she deliberately livened up the atmosphere. "I'm so angry. I can't get a full refund. It's all Grandpa's fault. I'll ask him to give you a big red packet." "Red packet?" Lu Cheng asked blankly. "It's a tradition in Jiangnan. Men and women who have confirmed their relationship, cough." Yen Zheka's cheeks were slightly red. She turned her head and said, "When you visit for the first time, the elders will give you a red packet." "It's a red packet from my grandson-in-law," Lu Cheng concluded with a smile. To be honest, he was not nervous about meeting Yen Zheka's grandpa and grandma. In the eyes of the young people of his generation, the father-in-law and mother-in-law were directly related to the girlfriend. Naturally, they would pay more attention to it and feel more nervous. Grandpa and grandma didn't seem to have a big impact on them after a generation. As for the fact that he was a physical invulnerability expert, it wasn't like he hadn't seen one before. He didn't have a physical invulnerability expert backing him up. While they were chatting and laughing, Yen Zheka sent Lu Cheng's personal information to her grandpa and waited for him to coordinate. The Songqing University students around them had already cast their gazes on them and sent silent greetings. Some of them even plucked up the courage to ask for autographs. Since winning the national championship, Lu Cheng had been in the state of everyone in Songqing University. He had become the idol of many seniors, juniors, and classmates of the same year. Wherever he went, he would attract attention and feel goodwill. Just as he was considering the fact that the sun was getting brighter and the number of onlookers was increasing, he had to drag Ku to a cafe or other places to avoid the heat. Soon, a phone call came to her. He told her about several first-class cabins and asked her to choose. If she was still not satisfied, she could use Shushan Study's private jet and apply for a flight route. "Let's take the 12:30 flight." Yen Zheka didn't want to bother others and quickly made a decision. Then they took the school bus out of Songqing University and arrived at the airport according to the original plan. However, the flight had changed, and the destination on the ticket was changed from the neighboring province to Jiangnan province. There was no delay and no delay. The flight took off on time. Lu Cheng drank the mineral water that was cooled by itself and casually chatted with his girlfriend. "Ku, I'm thinking about a problem." "What?" Yen Zheka turned her head and looked at her boyfriend with clear and beautiful eyes. And I'm saying if your parents and your grandparents are not satisfied with me and don't want you to marry me, what will you do?" Lu Cheng asked with a smile. It was because Empress Dowager was satisfied with him, and his father-in-law didn't object that he dared to ask this question. It was just a way for couples to communicate. Yen Zheka rolled her eyes and bit her lower lip with her white teeth. Her dimples appeared. "Of course I'll listen to them." "Ah!" Lu Cheng was stunned. "Ku, that's not the right answer." Seeing his reaction, Yen Zheka covered her mouth and chuckled, like spring water flowing out of a spring. "In the end," she said, "you're such a good liar." After joking, she pursed her lips and said while thinking, "I'm the one getting married, not them. My opinion is the most important. If they don't object, I'm happy. If they object, I'll do what I want. As long as I have the ability to support myself and live a good life, other people's opinions are just decorations. I don't think the blessings of relatives are important." Empress Dowager didn't give me any blessings, but she still lived happily. I find that you are deeply influenced by Empress Dowager. Lu Cheng was delighted by her answer. You have a gem in front of you. Yan Zheka smiled and then asked, what about you? If your parents don't like me, what will you do? F***CK. Asking about this kind of thing always brings me back to myself. Lu Cheng criticized himself in his mind. First he complimented, my Ku is so cute, so pretty, so kind, and so sensible. My parents will definitely like you. He paused for a moment and said in a serious tone, my thoughts are about the same as yours. Yes, it's all thanks to Coach Yan's good influence. Also, maybe it's because I've grown up. I have the strength and confidence to not rely on my parents, and I can live a good life on my own. Therefore, their opinions are only for reference. I will be filial to them, but that doesn't mean that I have to listen to everything they say. Actually, in my family now, I'm pretty much the one who makes the decisions for me. This was a natural evolution of family status. As long as one's character was not weak, not stupidly filial, and was able to make a decision, after one's career had reached a certain level, one would almost always make decisions for his parents instead of them. Yan Zheka listened to Lu Cheng quietly, her eyes sparkling. But in the end, she burst out laughing. Cheng, haha, I just thought of a saying. Haha, when you have a wife you forget your mother. Hey, be serious. Lu Cheng spread his hands helplessly. When couples were together, as long as they were serious about getting married and spending the rest of their lives together, they would inevitably fantasize about the future and discuss every aspect of their marriage life. Unknowingly, the plane began to descend and landed steadily on the tarmac. After taxiing for a while, Lu Cheng and Yan Zheka exited the cabin and walked towards the arrival hall. On the way, the girl received a call and turned to Lu Cheng. Cheng, let's go straight to the parking lot later. Brother Lingqian is coming to pick me up. The previous generation of the Ji family had the word Ming, while the current generation had the word Ling. Ji Lingqian was not from Ji Zhenjiang's branch, but belonged to his younger brother's branch. He was a martial artist at 28 years old and had been in the inhuman stage for 2 years. He was a fifth pin professional and was the vice president of the Ji family security company. He had a good relationship with this side. Yan Zheka's first uncle's daughter was her closest cousin, Ji Lingxi. Her second uncle's 2 children were her cousin, Ji Lingfang and Ji Lingyun. Brother Lingqian is coming personally. Haha, every time you mention him, I'm reminded of my pocket change. Lu Cheng joked, dragging his suitcase with his left hand and letting the girl hold his right hand. Yan Zheka pursed her lips and laughed softly. Me too. I always laugh when I call him that. You should call him Brother Lingqian too. When you see my grandparents, you should call them Grandpa Ji and Grandma Do, or Senior Ji and Senior Do. She seriously reminded him about how to address him. It didn't take long for them to find the location Ji Lingqian had mentioned. They saw a dark blue SUV. Ji Lingqian was tall and thin, with handsome features and a calm temperament. He was casually dressed in a dark casual shirt and pants. When he saw Lu Cheng and Yan Zheka walking over hand in hand, he shook his head and smiled. Lu Cheng, isn't your arm injured? Don't spoil my sister. Brother Lingqian, what are you talking about? He insisted on holding my hand and didn't allow me to carry my own luggage. Yan Zheka pouted. Brother Lingqian. Lu Cheng followed suit. He smiled and moved his right arm. It's already healed. Ji Lingqian sighed. Seeing you like this reminds me of my first love. Hey, get in the car. We'll talk in the car. The car door opened. The interior was spacious. There were curtains and partitions blocking the driver's seat so that the driver couldn't see the situation behind. The 2 rows of seats were arranged so that they faced each other. There was a bar counter and a small refrigerator around them. After putting down their luggage, Lu Cheng didn't look around the car. He sat down with Yan Zheka. Ji Lingqian plopped down on the seat opposite them. What do you want to drink? He smiled and pointed at the bar counter. I'm not drinking. I drank a lot on the plane. Yan Zheka turned to Lu Cheng. How about you? I'm not drinking either. Lu Cheng shook his head. As they spoke, the car door closed. The car moved forward steadily and made silent turns. Ji Lingqian crossed his arms in front of him and laughed. Lu Cheng, I'll call you Little Lou, otherwise we'll be too distant. I've watched your key matches in the university tournament. Not bad. Ku, you have a good eye. You're much better than I was when I was young. No wonder second grandpa invited you here. Speaking of this, he looked at Yen Zhaka and said, second grandpa did this in a hurry. Everyone was away for the holidays. I went to the south to do a security mission. I was so tired that I was resting at home. But I was asked to do this. I thought grandpa had it all arranged. That's good. Yen Zhaka was puzzled at first, but then she sighed in relief. This way, Qing only needed to see grandpa and grandma. It would be easier and less awkward. Her boyfriend would feel bad for her. What's good about it? Lingxi and Lingfeng said they wanted to come back and meet the heavenly son of the era. Ji Lingqian snorted. Regardless of whether Ji Lingqian was being sincere or not, Lu Cheng felt an inexplicable sense of vanity when he heard his words. He was secretly pleased. Along the way, Yen Zhaka and Ji Lingqian were the only ones chatting. Lu Cheng interjected from time to time, so he wasn't too reserved. When the car arrived at the Ji family's old house and entered the courtyard, Lu Cheng's breath caught his attention. Through the dark glass, he saw a thin old man with graying sideburns standing beside a flower stand. Grandpa! Yen Zhaka jumped out of the car and shouted. Lu Cheng followed and greeted him respectfully. Senior Ji. This was the famous heaven-leaning sword. His aura was as deep as the sea. Ji Zhenjiang smiled and nodded. He said to Yen Zhaka, Ku, go in and meet your grandma. At this point, he turned to look at Lu Cheng. Little Lu, accompany me for a walk. Chapter 4:17. The scenery on both sides receded as the car sped along. Lu Cheng was a little scared and couldn't help but advise her, Ku, you don't have to drive so fast. Yen Zhaka glanced at him out of the corner of her eyes. She let go of the accelerator and slowed down. Blushing, she said with an embarrassed smile, I saw others overtaking me and driving so fast, so I thought that it's okay to drive faster. Aren't they all the same? Lu Cheng was dumbfounded as he listened. He carefully observed his surroundings, using his eyes to measure the details of his surroundings. What are you thinking about? Yen Zhaka's right foot in white casual shoes unconsciously stepped on the accelerator again. Lu Cheng answered with a complicated expression. I'm thinking about how to accelerate if something goes wrong, how to step on the brake, and how to resist the collision from the opposite side. Yen Zhaka slowed down the accelerator again and didn't know what to say for a while. When they stopped at the traffic light, she asked with both annoyance and amusement, Am I really that bad? I think everything went well except for the ignition at the beginning. It's not about bad. Ku, you're not in the right state of mind. You can't always think about overtaking others and driving so fast. You have to control yourself. How can you not wet your shoes if you always walk on the roadside? Lu Cheng was afraid that Ku would have an accident when he was not with her, so he reminded her seriously, which was rare. Yen Zhaka pouted, Okay, I'll try my best. The green light flashed and the car started again. This time, she listened to Lu Cheng's advice and drove very steadily. Sometimes she wanted to overtake or speed up, but she realized it in time and controlled herself. Where are we going for a drive? Lu Cheng was in the mood to look at the scenery outside the car. He saw tall buildings and a river of lights. Yen Zhaka smiled and said in a light tone, I'll take you to see the night market in Linning first, and then we'll go to the river to get some fresh air. The capital of Jiangnan province was called Linning. Night market? What's it like? Lu Cheng thought of the flea market in Xiaofan. Hee, you'll know when we get there. Yen Zhaka kept him guessing with a smile on her face. The car turned left and right and arrived at a busy street half an hour later. At first glance, the street was as bright as day. Simple shops were lined up in 3 rows and meandered into the distance. Crowds of people and voices filled the air. With the help of the reversing radar and video, Yen Zhaka parked the car with a sense of accomplishment. She held Lu Cheng's hand and walked into the night market. There were all kinds of cheap items for sale here, such as clothes and cell phone cases, as well as fragrant delicacies. Lu Cheng stretched out his left hand and put it on the girl's other shoulder. He pulled her to his side, separating her from the pedestrians who were rubbing shoulders. As they walked and stopped, Yen Zhaka fully enjoyed the pleasure of bargaining. Although she was not interested in those things, she just wanted to experience life. She criticized Lu Cheng seriously, saying that he had never learned how to bargain. Every time he talked, it would be, "How much is it? 150. Can you make it cheaper? No, okay, give it to me," and so on. He never deviated from the basic principle. They started their business here. Now it's a national chain. But other than this place, they don't taste good. Their family started their business here, and now it's a national chain restaurant. But other than here, the other restaurants don't taste good. I think their other stores are good. Lu Cheng asked with interest. I think their other stores are okay. Lu Cheng asked with interest. That's because you haven't eaten anything good. While they were talking, the chicken was ready and put into a bag. They held hands and ate as they walked. They both thought it was like a student couple on a date. While they were talking, the chicken chops were ready and put into a bag. The two of them each took a piece, held hands, and ate as they walked. Both of them felt that this was like a student couple dating. It's true. It's much better than the ones in Songqing. Lu Cheng chewed on the tender chicken chop and expressed his admiration in surprise. He swallowed half of it in 2 or 3 bites. Yan Zheka lifted her chin slightly and smiled smugly. I told you, but you didn't believe me. She took out her phone and let Lu Cheng lean his head and body to her. They held the chicken and took a selfie. She took out her phone and asked Lu Cheng to take a selfie with the chicken. She didn't like to take pictures. She didn't know when it started, but she, who didn't like taking pictures, started to like using this method to record the interesting things they experienced together. Snap. Yan Zheka pursed her lips and tilted her head, trying to portray a beautiful image. Lu Cheng, on the other hand, didn't care. He laughed and said, "Ku, you haven't eaten much at roadside stalls before, right? Where did you get this place?" My cousin, Sister Lingxi, brought me here once. Yan Zheka answered with a sweet smile. Sister Lingxi is indeed an experienced player. Lu Cheng nodded in understanding. Ji Lingxi was the eldest daughter of the Ji family. She was 4 years older than Ku. She was born with great strength but didn't like martial arts. She wanted to study and be a manager. She was a professional 9th pin fighter in her first year, and was still a professional 9th pin fighter in her 4th year. 2 years after graduation, she reached the threshold of the dance stage. She was a very playful person. She skateboarded, surfed, rappelling, sang, danced, traveled, took a cruise to the sea, collected bags and so on. In addition, she was also interested in experiencing the different specialties of different places, exploring roadside delicacies, and interesting shops. She was the kind of person who could go to banquets and food stalls. They talked and laughed. They ate from the chicken chop shop to the end of the night market. They ate from one stall after another, all of which were certified by the gourmet Ji Lingxi. After a round, they returned to the car from the outside of the night market. Yan Zheka led Lu Cheng to the riverside to take a walk in the cool night wind. The Ning River was wide and refreshing. The water blew on their faces, moistening their skin and soul. The girl held Lu Cheng's hand and walked beside the guardrail. She giggled and swayed as if she was still a little girl. It's late. We have to go back. She looked at her watch. We can stay out all night. Lu Cheng instigated with a half-truth and half-lie. Yan Zheka rolled her eyes at him and mimicked his tone. Then you will be hunted down by my grandpa and grandma for 8 streets. Shivering. Lu Cheng joked. It was his first day here and he had already abducted someone's granddaughter and stayed out all night. Was he asking for a beating or a beating? They opened the door and got into the car. Yan Zheka had just sat down. Before she could fasten the seatbelt or start the car, she felt her body tilted and fell into Cheng's arms. You. Just as she raised her head, she saw Lu Cheng's scorching black eyes. Having shared a bed and pillow intimately during the national competition, Lu Cheng had long been itching to make a move. Due to Yan Kai and Ji Mingyu's interference and other reasons, they hadn't been intimate for the past week. It was easy to go from frugality to extravagance, but difficult to go from extravagance to frugality. Yan Zheka closed her eyes, straightened her fair and slender neck like that of a swan, and gave in. Her legs were curled up on her side, and she was in the same position as her boyfriend. They were squeezed very closely together. Lu Cheng had observed the surroundings and knew that there was no one here. He kissed her passionately and let his hands move. He started from her shoulders, back and legs and gradually went deeper. This seat. Can it be reclined? Lu Cheng asked anxiously as he kissed the girl's ear. I can't do it like this. I don't know. You can search. Yen Zheka answered in a soft and confused voice. She didn't even know what she was talking about. Search at this time? Lu Cheng didn't want to be distracted. He wanted to use force concentration to lean against her and knock down the seat. At this moment, a sharp ringing sound rang out, echoing continuously. Yen Zheka pushed Lu Cheng away and glared at him with embarrassment and anger in her eyes. She pursed her moist lips, picked up her phone, and answered the call. Hello, Sister Lingxi? You're back. Yes, we're outside. I brought Cheng to the night market. Okay, we're going back. Lu Cheng laughed helplessly at the side. He reached out and helped tidy up her clothes. Humph, it's dangerous to be with you. Yen Zheka sat back in the driver's seat and calmed herself down. She started the ignition with a blushing face. I haven't been intimate with you for a long time. Lu Cheng adjusted his pants. Yen Zheka glared at him and bit her lip. It'll be fine after a few days. Anyway, I'm on my period tomorrow. As she spoke, she burst into laughter. I know. Oh, where's your aunt? Lu Cheng changed the topic and asked about his aunt. She went to Shushen's study to take care of my brother. Yen Zheka calmed herself down and started the car. The journey was smooth without any accidents. They arrived at the old house of the Ji family in 40 minutes. After parking the car, Lu Cheng and Yen Zheka walked towards the main entrance. Before they could get close, they heard someone talking loudly inside. My 300,000 for a gram. It has a medicinal fragrance. It can cure many diseases. It's not as good as your Buddhist beads, Brother Li. This string of prayer beads is made of ordinary materials. It was blessed by a senior monk from the Daxing temple and nourished by chanting scriptures every day for half a year. I was unlucky last year, so my dad begged for this string of prayer beads. It's hard to say how much it's worth. All right. Don't brag about it every time. Get one for each of us if you can. What the hell? Lu Cheng was confused. This was a field he didn't understand at all. Yen Zheka glanced at him and said in a low voice, Don't mind them. They like to play these games. It's boring. She turned the handle and pushed the door open. 2 men and 2 women were chatting in the main hall. Lu Cheng recognized Ji Lingxi at a glance. She looked more like the Empress Dowager than his classmate Ku. She was tall and graceful, but her eyebrows were not sharp enough. You're back. Ji Lingxi's white t-shirt, denim shorts, and high-heeled sandals showcased her figure to the fullest. She stood up with a smile and said, Come, let me introduce you. This is Zhang Li, the young master of the Jindi group. His father has a good relationship with several eminent monks of Daxing Temple. Zhang Li's skin was dark and his eyes were ordinary. He wore a dark brown prayer beads on his wrist. This is Han Jingchao. His mother is the chairman of the Provincial Martial Artist Association. Ji Lingxi pointed to the other man with a smile. Han Vengchao was more handsome than Zhang Li, but his eyes were heavy and his qi and blood were not strong enough. He was holding a green pendant in his hand. This is Guagua. Ku, you know her. We've had dinner together a few times. Her father is now independent. Ji Lingxi looked at the girl with long wavy hair beside her. Then she pointed to Yen Zheka and said, I don't think I need to tell you. My cousin Yen Zheka. A few guys wanted to pursue her, but they were beaten to the punch. Hey Ku, introduce him yourself. Yen Zheka looked at Lu Cheng and thought for a moment. The corners of her mouth curled up, and she said simply without adding anything. He's Lu Cheng. Chapter 4:18. He's Lu Cheng. The 4 simple words made the atmosphere suddenly solemn. Zhang Li, Guagua, and the others were silent for more than 10 seconds. See, this is the heavenly son of the age. Ji Lingxi was the first to come back to herself. She smiled and looked at her companions. Then she turned to Yen Zheka and complained. When they heard that Lu Cheng was coming, they were so excited and curious. They shamelessly followed me home. They wanted to see what the heavenly son of the age looked like and whether he had 3 heads and 6 arms. So I'm a monster? Lu Cheng replied humorously. No, no, no. You're not a monster. After practicing martial arts for a year and a half, you've already reached the top of 6th pin. You're not a monster. You're a Superman. Zhongli smiled. He was relatively calm. His left hand began to twirl the dark brown prayer beads. Yes, Superman. Han Vengchao echoed with an exaggerated smile. Then he asked in confusion, Lu Cheng, why do I feel that you look a little different from on TV? How so? Lu Cheng looked at Yen Zheka with a smile and found that she was just as confused as he was. It had only been 5 or 6 days since he last appeared on TV. Gua Gua was a short and delicate girl with a rather imposing face. She said in a low voice, You're a little different. On TV you're more, how do I put it? More flamboyant. You have a temperament that people don't dare to look at directly. Haha, I understand now. During an intense battle, I will definitely release my aura to oppress and affect the opponent's mind. When the match was over and I was interviewed, I hadn't completely calmed down. Lu Cheng suddenly understood. The me on TV was a battle form. So that's how it is. When you're free, you're like a forest. When you're in a battle, you're like a fire. Zhongli nodded thoughtfully. They were the kind of people who didn't like martial arts. They would only watch highly watched matches that attracted a lot of attention. Therefore, even though there were many seniors and experts around them, they didn't notice some details. After the small talk, the atmosphere became relatively livelier. Ji Lingxi, Han Vengchao, and the others sat down and began to chat about various things. It was obvious that they wanted Lu Cheng to be the center of the conversation. Seeing that he wasn't interested, they didn't mention the prayer beads and ambergris. Instead, they talked about the gossip in the martial arts circle. Lu Cheng didn't care about what they were talking about. He didn't feel the slightest inferiority even if their collection was worth all his savings. Instead, he took it as an opportunity to broaden his horizons and listened quietly. He didn't mind. Time ticked by. Lu Cheng pressed on his phone, looked at the screen, and stood up with a smile. As time ticked, Lu Lingxi. Ji stood. He was surprised. His tone was normal, but there was an indisputable tone to it. Ji Lingxi stood up and asked in surprise, So early? Ever since he started practicing martial arts, he's been living like an old man. Yes, so am I. Yen Zheka explained for her boyfriend with a smile and thought of an excuse to get herself out of this situation. Sheng. Wei Ming Ching said, Yen Li Yen, Cheng, let's go fishing and enjoy the breeze. Oh, there are a few underground fights in the international waters. With the existence of referees, the arena matches were more than exciting, but not exciting enough. In order to satisfy their own desires and needs to vent, some tycoons would privately organize underground arena matches in war-torn zones and on the high seas. Arena matches without referees. If they really fought like this, even if no one died, there would definitely be a scene of blood splattering everywhere and bones breaking. It would excite the bestial side of humans. Of course, the fighters who were willing to fight in challenge tournaments to make quick money were not very strong. If there was a Dan stage, 7th or 6th pin fighter, they would have a guarantor and a chance to repay the debt. No need. Lu Cheng looked at Yen Zheka and turned her down with a smile. Tomorrow, he would stay at home with Ku and rub her tummy. Today was one of the days left out in the travel plan. Fine. I'll look for you next time. With your listening skill, I'm sure you can catch a lot of fish. Zhongli didn't insist. He left the Ji family's old house with Han Zhengchao and Gua Gua and got into his SUV. He took off the dark brown prayer beads and put them on the gear shift. After a few seconds of silence, he asked, What do you think? What do you think of Lu Cheng? He's a gentle, friendly, and introverted person. Han Zhengchao rubbed his eye bags and answered seriously. But don't you think he has a strong aura? It's like he's telling us what to do and we can only listen obediently. Gua Gua frowned and whispered. Haha, that's normal. It's the confidence of a mighty one accumulated from victory after victory. My mom is the same. She doesn't have to get angry or speak loudly. As long as she makes a decision, I don't even dare to fart. Han Zhengchao laughed at himself. Not to mention a heavenly son of the age. Yeah. Zhongli started the engine and started the car. Anyway, whether Lu Cheng can reach physical invulnerability or not, I think he'll definitely become an inhuman. Han Vengchao added, We're not strong and have no interest in martial arts. It's good to make more friends like him. Yo, I didn't expect young Master Han, who loves wine, cars and women, to say something like that, Guogua mocked. Han Vengchao usually behaved like a typical rich playboy. This is called being vigilant in times of peace, he replied, clicking his tongue. Zhongli nodded in agreement and said slowly, since you have this understanding, it's not a waste of my advice. Why do you think Lingxi insisted on coming back today? Sisterly love? Isn't that so? Guogua and Han Vengchao asked in surprise. Zhongli chuckled. The Ji family is a typical martial arts family. Don't be fooled by the wealth and power of the outside world. Internally, strength is still the most important factor. Guogua interrupted him before he could finish. She played with her long wavy hair and said with a frown, Uncle Ji's 4 siblings are very harmonious and close. That's because there are old masters and old ladies above them. Where there are people there are conflicts. Where there are money and power, there are disputes. In order to have strong children to stabilize his foundation, Uncle Ji kept many lovers outside. Unfortunately, none of them turned out to be successful. He didn't dare to bring them home. Zhongli sighed. Lingxi has shed countless tears because of this. Don't be fooled by her carefree attitude. In fact, she knows better than anyone else. She knows that she can't achieve anything in martial arts and doesn't want to fight for anything. She just wants to maintain her current status and lifestyle. Therefore, continuing to befriend Yen Zhaka, who has a good relationship with her, is the most reasonable and practical choice. Especially when she has a really good boyfriend, the really good kind. Although Lu Chang had been dealing with the heavenly sons of the age recently, which made it seem like there were many young fighters at this level, in fact, there might not even be one in several provinces. At least among Zhongli and Han Vengchao, only Lin Ke was slightly close to this level. In a situation where a high-ranked inhuman dance stage fighter could be considered as the upper class of a province, it was normal for the heavenly sons of the age who had a good chance of reaching physical invulnerability to be highly valued. Brother Li. Han Jingchao was dumbfounded. He couldn't help but gasp. You've hidden your strength well. He could see things so clearly. Zhongli sneered. My family has a lot of people. If they were stupid, they would have been swallowed long ago. How could I be the young master? Speaking of this, he sighed again. I really envy Lu Cheng and the others now. They are strong and not afraid of scheming against each other. Anyway, I'm waiting for a chance to help him or be helped by him. Either way, it could improve the relationship between both parties. In the guest room of the Ji family's old house, Lu Cheng, who was under the nose of a physical invulnerability expert, didn't sneak into the bedroom. After washing up, he lay on the bed and received a call from his mother. After chatting for a while, Qifeng said mysteriously, Your brother has hit the jackpot recently. Ha! Lu Cheng was dumbfounded. Lu Yanwei really succeeded in starting his business? He didn't say anything about it recently. Erzi expanded his business to Xiaofan. He asked your brother to help and even gave him shares. Qifeng gossiped excitedly. She didn't feel jealous because her son was very successful after all. Others couldn't catch up to him easily. Lu Cheng was stunned and asked doubtfully, Who's Erzi? Qifeng didn't know what to say. After a while she said, He's a relative from Qingfu's hometown. He often comes to visit your grandpa and grandma. Ah, I remember. He's quite a nice guy. Lu Cheng said perfunctorily. You have no taste. How could you ask your brother for help? Didn't you see how many things he has failed? Qifeng insisted that Lu Yanwei didn't have the ability to start a business. It doesn't matter. It's not us who will suffer losses. Lu Cheng laughed. That's true. Also, your dad got promoted recently. Fatigua put him in charge of the whole factory and even gave him shares. Cheng, do you think it's because of you? You just won the national championship and Fatigua brought this up. What's that idiom? What's that? Qifeng wasn't well educated. It's the icing on the cake. Lu Cheng added on behalf of his mother, Fatigua is a nice guy. Didn't he help me in my hour of need? That's true. Anyway, if he really asks you for help, don't worry about us. If you can help, just do it. If not, just forget it. Qifeng said with concern. Yes. Lu Cheng answered with a smile. When the phone was hung up and the surroundings were quiet, He sighed with emotion. As he made his name in the national competition and gained the reputation of the favored fighter of the age, everything around him was changing. Maybe it had changed before, but it was definitely not as obvious as it was now. Without him saying anything, the fate of his relatives and friends had changed. It was only now that Lu Qing truly understood what it meant to have a change in status. Chapter 4:19. The scenery on both sides receded as the car sped along. Lu Cheng was a little scared and couldn't help but dissuade her. "Ku, you don't have to drive so fast." Glancing at him from the corner of her eye, Yan Zheka released the accelerator and slowed down. She blushed and said with an embarrassed smile, "When I see others overtaking me and driving so fast, I want to overtake them. I think it's okay to drive faster. Aren't they all the same?" Lu Cheng was dumbfounded. He carefully observed his surroundings, measuring the details with his eyes. "What are you thinking about?" Yan Zheka unconsciously pressed the accelerator with her right foot in white casual shoes. Lu Qing answered with a complicated expression, "I'm thinking about how to exert force, how to brake, and how to resist the collision of the opposite side if there is a problem." Yan Zheka slowed down the accelerator again and didn't know what to say. When the car stopped at the traffic light, she asked with anger and amusement, "Am I really that bad at driving? I feel that everything is smooth today except for the ignition at the beginning." "It's not a problem of bad or not. Ku, you have the wrong mentality. You can't always think about overtaking others and driving so fast. You need to control yourself. If you often walk on the side of the road, your shoes will get wet." Lu Chang was afraid that Ku would have an accident when he wasn't with her, so he seriously reminded her. Yan Zheka pouted and said, "Okay, I'll try." The green light flashed and the car started again. This time, the girl listened to Lu Cheng's advice and drove steadily. Occasionally, she wanted to overtake and speed up, but she noticed it in time and controlled herself. "Where are we going for a ride?" Lu Cheng was in the mood to look at the scenery outside the car. He saw towering buildings and rivers of lights. Yan Zheka showed her dimples and said in a light tone, "I'll take you to see the night market of Lining first, and then to the riverbank." The capital of Jiangnan province was called Lining. Night market? What's it like? Lu Cheng thought of the flea market in Xiaofan. "Hey, you'll know when you get there." Yan Zheka kept him guessing with a smile on her face. The car turned left and right, and after half an hour, they arrived at a bustling street. At a glance, the street was as bright as day, and simple shops were arranged in 3 rows, winding into the distance. There were people everywhere, and voices filled the air. With the help of the reversing radar and images, Yan Zheka parked the car with a sense of accomplishment. Holding Lu Cheng's hand, they entered the night market. There were all kinds of cheap goods, such as clothes and mobile phone cases, as well as a lot of delicious food. Lu Cheng reached out his left hand and wrapped it around the girl's other shoulder. He pulled her closer to him, separating them from the pedestrians who were rubbing shoulders with each other so that they wouldn't brush against each other. The two of them walked and stopped. Yan Zheka fully enjoyed the pleasure of bargaining. Although she didn't like those things at all, she just wanted to experience life. She also sternly criticized Lu Cheng, saying that he had never learned how to bargain. Every time he talked he would say, "How much? 150? Can you make it cheaper?" "No." "Fine, give it to me." After strolling for a while, Yan Zheka led Lu Cheng to a roadside stall and asked for 2 big chicken steaks. While waiting, she said, "Their family started from here, and now it has become a national chain. But except for here, the food in other places is not good." "Really? I think the food in other stores is not bad." Lu Cheng asked with interest. "That's because you haven't eaten good food." Yan Zheka looked at her boyfriend with disdain, and then turned to sympathy. She laughed in a low voice and said, "Poor child, I can only take you to broaden your horizons." While talking, the chicken steaks were ready and put into a bag. They each took a piece, held hands, and walked while eating. Both of them felt that this was especially like a student couple on a date. "Hey, it's true. It's much better than those in Songqing." Lu Cheng expressed his admiration in surprise while gnawing on the tender chicken steaks. He ate half of them in a few bites. Yan Zheka slightly raised her chin and smiled with a little pride. "I told you, but you didn't believe me. Come, let's take a picture." She took out her phone and asked Lu Cheng to lean his head and body over. They held the chicken steaks together and took a selfie. She didn't know when it started, but she, who didn't like to take pictures before, liked to record the interesting things they experienced together in this way. Click. Yen Zhaka pursed her lips and tilted her head, outlining the beautiful image. Lu Cheng showed his true colors indifferently. In the end, he laughed and said, "Ku, you haven't eaten at roadside stalls before, right? Where did you hear about this chicken steaks?" "My cousin." "Well, Sister Lingxi took me here once." Yen Zhaka answered with a sweet smile. Sister Lingxi is indeed a veteran player. Lu Cheng nodded in realization. Ji Lingxi was the eldest daughter of this generation of the Ji family, 4 years older than Ku. She was born with extraordinary strength, but she didn't like to practice martial arts. She walked the path of learning and management. She had reached the level of professional 9th pin in her first year of college, and was still a professional 9th pin in her 4th year of college. 2 years after graduation, she had just touched the threshold of Dan stage. She was a very playful person. She did everything like skateboarding, surfing, singing and dancing, hiking, cruising, collecting and buying bags. In addition, she was also interested in experiencing the different characteristics of different places, discovering the delicious food and interesting shops by the roadside. She was the kind of person who could attend banquets and go to roadside stalls. Talking and laughing, they ate from the chicken steak stall to the end of the night market. They ate one stall after another, all of which were certified by the gourmet Ji Lingxi. They took a detour from the outside of the night market to the car. Yen Zhaka led Lu Cheng to the riverside, where the cool night wind blew and they strolled to digest the food. Ningjiang's blue waves were wide and spacious. Looking at it, one would feel refreshed and refreshed. The water rushed into one's face, nourishing one's skin and soul. The girl pulled Lu Cheng while walking beside the guardrail. She giggled and swayed as if she was still a little girl. "It's getting late. We have to go back." She looked at her watch, still wanting to continue. "We can stay out all night." Lu Cheng instigated, half joking. Yen Zhaka rolled her eyes at him and imitated his tone. "Then you'll be chased by my grandpa and grandma all the way to 8th streets." Shivering in fear, Lu Cheng joked. It was his first day in the house, and he was already abducting someone's granddaughter to stay out all night. Was he asking for a beating? They opened the door and entered the car from the left and right sides. Yen Zhaka had just sat down, but before she could fasten her seatbelt and turn on the ignition, she felt her body tilting and falling towards the passenger seat. She was pulled into Cheng's arms. "You!" Just as she raised her head, she saw Lu Cheng's burning black eyes. After experiencing the continuous bed and pillow sharing during the national competition, Lu Cheng had been itching for a long time because of Yen Zhaka and Ji Mingyu's interference in the past week. It was easy to go from frugal to extravagant, but difficult to go from extravagant to frugal. Yen Zhaka closed her eyes, straightened her slender neck like a swan, and kissed him gently. She sat with her legs curled up, overlapping with her boyfriend. They were very close together. Lu Cheng had already observed the surroundings, so he knew there was no one here. While kissing her passionately, he started to caress her shoulders, back, legs and feet, and gradually went deeper. "Could this seat? Can you put it upside down?" Lu Cheng asked eagerly when he kissed her ear. "I can't do it like this. I don't know how to do it." "You can search for it." Yen Zhaka answered in a faint and confused voice. She didn't even know what she was saying. Search for it at this time? Lu Cheng didn't want to be distracted. He couldn't wait to use force concentration. He leaned close to her and knocked the seat over. At this moment, a sharp ringtone sounded and kept echoing. Yen Zhaka pushed Lu Cheng away and glared at him shyly. She pursed her moist lips, picked up the phone, and answered the call. "Hello, Sister Lingxi? You're back." "Yes, we're outside. I brought Cheng to the night market." "Okay, we're on our way back." Lu Cheng smiled helplessly and reached over to help Ku tidy up her clothes. "Humph, it's so dangerous to be with you." Yen Zhaka sat back in the driver's seat and calmed down. She started the ignition with a red face. "I haven't been intimate with you for a long time." Lu Cheng adjusted his pants. Yen Zhaka glared at him and bit her lip. "It'll be fine after a few days. Anyway, my period starts tomorrow." As she spoke, she couldn't help but laugh. I know. By the way, where's your aunt? Lu Cheng changed the topic and asked about her real aunt. She went to Xiaofan study to take care of my brother. Yan Zheka calmed down and started the car. The journey was smooth and there were no accidents. 40 minutes later, they arrived at the Ji family's old residence. They parked the car and walked to the front door. Before Lu Cheng and Yan Zheka got close, they heard people talking inside. Mine costs more than 300,000 yuan per gram. It smells like medicine. It can cure many diseases. It's not as good as your prayer beads, Brother Li. My prayer beads are made of ordinary material. They were blessed by the eminent monks of Daxing Temple and nourished by chanting scriptures every day for half a year. I was very unlucky last year. My dad gave up his pride and asked for this. It's hard to tell how much it's worth. Okay, don't show off this every time. If you're so good, get us one each. What the hell? Lu Cheng was at a loss. This was something he didn't understand at all. Yan Zheka glanced at him and said in a low voice, "Don't worry about them. They like to play these games. It's boring." She turned the doorknob and opened the door. 2 men and 2 women were chatting in the main hall. Lu Cheng recognized Ji Lingxi immediately. She looked more like Empress Dowager than Ku. She was tall and elegant, but her eyebrows were not sharp enough. "You're back." Ji Lingxi wore a white t-shirt, denim shorts, and a pair of high-heeled sandals. She stood up with a smile and said, "Come, let me introduce you. This is the young master of the Jindi group, Zhang Li. His father has a good relationship with the high monks of Daxing Temple." Zhang Li had dark skin and ordinary features. He wore a string of dark brown prayer beads on his wrist. "This is Han Vengchao. His mother is the chairman of our province's Martial Artist Association." Ji Lingxi smiled and pointed at the other person. Han Zhengchao was more handsome than Zhang Li, but he had heavy eye bags and lacked vitality. He was holding a green pendant in his hand. "This is Guagua. Ku, you know her. We've had dinner together a few times. Her father is independent now." Ji Lingxi looked at the girl with long wavy hair beside her. After that, she pointed at Yan Zheka and said, "You don't need me to tell you. This is my cousin Yan Zheka. Several guys want to pursue her. Unfortunately, before they could do anything, someone else beat them to it. Hey Ku, you introduce your boyfriend." Yan Zheka looked at Lu Cheng and thought for a while. Then she smiled and said simply without any suffixes, "He's Lu Cheng." Chapter 420. He's Lu Cheng. The 4 simple words made the atmosphere solemn. Zhang Li, Guagua, and the others were silent for more than 10 seconds. "Look, this is the heavenly son of the age." Ji Lingxi was the first to come back to her senses. She smiled and looked at her companions. Then she turned to Yan Zheka and complained, "When they heard Lu Cheng was coming, they were so excited and curious that they wanted to follow me home. They wanted to see what the heavenly son of the age looked like and see if he had 3 heads and 6 arms. So I'm a monster?" Lu Cheng replied humorously. No. You're not a monster. You've been practicing martial arts for a year and a half and you're already at the top of the 6th pin. You're not a monster. You're a Superman." Zhang Li smiled. He was relatively calm. He turned the dark brown Buddhist prayer beads in his left hand. "Yes, a Superman." Han Vengchao agreed with an exaggerated smile. In the end he asked in confusion, "Lu Cheng, why do I feel that you're a little different from the one on TV?" "What's different?" Lu Cheng looked at Yan Zheka with a smile and found that she was just as confused as he was. It had only been 5 or 6 days since he last entered the broadcast. Guagua was a short and petite girl, but her facial features were quite imposing. At this time, she also muttered, "It's a little different. The you on TV is more flamboyant. You have a kind of temperament that makes people not dare to look at you directly." "Haha, I know what's going on. During a fierce battle, you'll definitely release your momentum to oppress and influence your opponent's mind. When the battle was over and you were interviewed, you still haven't completely calmed down," Lu Cheng said in realization. His TV appearance was considered his battle form. "So that's how it is. When you're idle, you're like a forest, but when you're fighting, you're like a fire." Zhang Li nodded thoughtfully. None of them were interested in martial arts. They would only watch the matches that attracted a lot of attention. Therefore, even though there were many powerful seniors around them, they didn't notice the details. After such small talk, the atmosphere was relatively lively. Ji Lingxi, Han Vengchao, and the others sat down and began to chat about various things. It was obvious that they were focusing on Lu Cheng. Seeing that he was not very interested, they did not mention the rosary beads, the yellow jade ambergris, and other things. Instead, they talked about the gossip of the martial arts circle. Lu Cheng didn't care about what they were talking about. Even if one of their collections was worth more than all of his savings, he didn't feel the slightest bit inferior. Instead, he took it as an opportunity to broaden his horizons and listen quietly. Since he had the confidence, there was no harm in doing so. Time ticked by. Lu Cheng tapped on his phone, looked at the screen, and got up with a smile. It's getting late. I need to rest. You guys take your time. His tone was normal, but there was a hint of irrefutability in it. Ji Lingxi stood up as well and asked in surprise, "So early?" Since he started practicing martial arts, he's been living like an old man. Yeah, so am I. Yan Zhaka explained for her boyfriend with a smile. She also thought of an excuse for herself. Then it's time for us to go back. Zhongli turned the prayer beads and smiled. We're going out to sea tomorrow. Do you want to join us? Let's go fishing and get some fresh air. All right, there are a few fights on the open sea with no restrictions on life and death. There were referees in the challenge tournament. It was more exciting than exciting. Some rich people privately organized underground challenge tournament in war-torn areas and on the open sea to satisfy their own desires. Challenge tournament without referees. Even if no one died in the real fight, there would definitely be scenes of blood splattering everywhere and bones breaking, which would excite the beastly side of people. Of course, the fighters who were willing to make quick money in the challenge tournament weren't very strong. If there was a dance stage, 7th pin or 6th pin fighter, even if they owed a lot of money, there would be someone to vouch for them and they would have the opportunity to repay their debts slowly. No need. Lu Cheng glanced at Yan Zheka and declined with a smile. Tomorrow, he would stay at home with Ku and massage her belly. He had left this day empty in his previously cancelled travel plan. All right, I'll find you next time out at sea. With your listening skill, you'll definitely catch a lot of fish. Zhongli didn't insist. He left the Ji family's old house with Han Zhengchao and Guogua and got into his SUV. He took off the dark brown prayer beads and put them on the gear shift. After a few seconds of silence, he asked, "What do you think? What do you think of Lu Cheng?" He's quite gentle, friendly, and introverted. Han Zhengchao rubbed his eye bags and answered seriously. But don't you think his aura is very strong? It's the kind of feeling where you can do whatever you want and we can only listen obediently. Guogua frowned and said softly, "Haha, that's normal. That's the confidence of a mighty one accumulated through countless victories. My mother was the same. She didn't need to get angry or speak loudly. As long as she decided something, I wouldn't dare to say a word." Han Zhengchao laughed at himself. Let alone a heavenly son of the era like him. Yeah. Zhongli started the engine and started the car. Anyway, regardless of whether he can become a physical invulnerability expert in the future, I think he'll definitely become an inhuman, Han Zhengchao added. We're not strong and we don't have the heart to practice martial arts. It's good to make more friends like him. Yo, I didn't expect our young master Han, who loves wine, cars and women, to say something like that. Guogua laughed. Han Vengchao was a typical spoiled brat. This is called being prepared for danger in times of peace. He replied. Zhongli nodded in agreement and said slowly, I didn't advise you in vain. Why do you think Lingxi had to come back today? Is it because of their sisterly relationship? Isn't it? Guogua and Han Vengchao asked in surprise. Zhongli chuckled. The Ji family is a typical martial arts family. Although they have a lot of assets, money and power, they're still ranked by their strength. Before he could finish, Guogua interrupted him. She played with her wavy hair and frowned. Uncle Ji and his siblings are very close. They're very close. That's because old master and old madam are pressuring him. Haha, where there are people there will be the underworld. Where there is money and power, there will be disputes. How many mistresses did Uncle Ji keep outside in order to have a strong son and daughter to stabilize his foundation? It's a pity that none of them are good enough. He doesn't even dare to bring them home. Zhongli sighed. Lingxi has shed countless tears because of this. She may seem like a carefree playboy, but she knows better than anyone else. She knows she can't achieve anything in martial arts, so she doesn't want to fight for anything. She just wants to maintain her current status in life. It's the most reasonable and practical choice for her to continue befriending Yan Zheka. Especially since she has an amazing boyfriend, the kind that's really amazing. Lu Cheng had been interacting with the Heavenly Sons of China recently, making it seem like there were many young martial artists of this level. In fact, there might not even be one in several provinces. At least Zhang Li and Han Fengchao were around. Previously, only Lin Ke was slightly close. In a situation where a high-ranked dance stage in human could become the upper class of a province, it was normal for the Heavenly Sons of China, who had a high chance of reaching the physical invulnerability stage, to be highly valued. Brother Li. Han Fengchao was stunned. He couldn't help but gasp. You're really good at hiding your strength. You see things so clearly. Zhang Li sneered. My family has a lot of people. If I were really stupid, I would have been swallowed up by others. How could I be the young master? He sighed again. I'm really envious of Lu Cheng and the others. They're strong and don't have to worry about scheming. Anyway, I'm waiting for a chance to help him or be helped by him. Either way, it would improve their relationship. In the guest room of the Ji family's old house, Lu Cheng didn't try to sneak into the room under the watch of a physical invulnerability expert. After washing up, he lay on the bed and received a call from his mother. After a few words, Xiaofan said mysteriously, Your brother has made a fortune recently. Ha! Lu Cheng was dumbfounded. Lu Yanwei really succeeded in starting his own business? I haven't heard him mention it recently. Erzi has expanded his business to Xiaofan. He asked your brother to help him and even gave him shares. Xiaofan gossiped excitedly. She wasn't jealous because of this. After all, her son was very promising and not just anyone could catch up with him. Lu Cheng was stunned for a moment. Who's Erzi? Xiaofan didn't know what to say. After a while she said, He's a relative from Qingfu. He often comes to visit your grandparents recently. Ah, I remember now. He's a nice guy. Lu Cheng said perfunctorily. He has no taste. How could he ask your brother for help? Look at how many things he has failed. Xiaofan insisted that Lu Yanwei didn't have the ability to start his own business. It doesn't matter. After all, we're not the ones who suffer losses. Lu Cheng laughed. That's true. Also, your dad got promoted recently. Fatigua put him in charge of the whole factory and gave him shares. Cheng, don't you think it's because of you? You just won the national championship and Fatigua mentioned it. What's that idiom? What's that? Xiaofan didn't know much about it. Icing on the cake. Lu Cheng helped his mother add, Fatigua is a nice guy. Didn't he help me in my hour of need back then? That's true. Anyway, if he really asks you for help, don't worry about us. Help if you can. Don't worry if you can't. Xiaofan said with concern. Yes, yes, yes. Lu Cheng replied with a smile. After the phone call ended and the surroundings quieted down, he sighed with emotion. After he won the national championship and gained the reputation of being the heavenly son of the age, everything around him was changing. It might have happened in the past, but it was definitely not as obvious as now. Without him saying anything, the fate of his relatives and friends had changed. Until now, Lu Cheng really understood what it meant to change one's status. Chapter 421. While Lu Cheng was on the phone with Xiaofan, Ji Lingxi kicked off her slippers and sat cross-legged on the bed in Yan Zheka's private bedroom. She looked at her cousin who had just changed into her nightgown with a faint smile. Ku, you're so good at keeping secrets. Do you still think I'm your sister? I saw you hugging Lu Cheng in the finals a few days ago. That's how I guessed you two were together. If it were before today, Yan Zheka would have been a little proud of her cousin's words. However, the truth told by Lu Cheng had dispelled her complacency. She didn't know whether to laugh or cry. She replied, I didn't mean to lie to anyone. Grandpa and Grandma already knew. Humph, Sister Lingxi, it's because you're living too freely and don't care about me. That's why you didn't find out, right? She had kept it a secret for a long time. Except for her father, she couldn't keep it a secret from anyone. Why was she so careful with Cheng in the beginning? Ji Lingxi was at a loss for words. She combed her hair and said, "Didn't I tell you that some guys wanted to pursue you?" "Humph, what did you tell me?" "I don't want to find a boyfriend for the time being." "Isn't that a lie?" She changed her voice and tone to Yen Zheka's to describe the original words. "I didn't lie to you. I already have a boyfriend. Of course I won't find another one. I have to be wholehearted in love. How can I have a foot in two boats?" Yen Zheka retorted righteously. As she spoke, her lips curved into an unconcealable smile. "I've already thought about how to explain it." Ji Lingxi's mouth twitched. She said bitterly, "I really want to pinch your face." In childhood, Yen Zheka had cute baby fat. Ji Lingxi almost developed the hobby of pinching her face. Without waiting for her cousin to speak, she changed the topic and gossiped excitedly. "Ku, when did you and Cheng get together? How long?" She had asked similar questions on QQ before, but Yen Zheka always changed the topic skillfully. She didn't want to share her and Cheng's private affairs with others, even her cousin. Now, Ji Lingxi finally had a chance to interrogate her directly. Yen Zheka's eyebrows twitched. She pursed her pink lips and answered reluctantly, "We got together on Valentine's Day last year." Speaking of this, she suddenly felt sweet and unknowingly added, "He chased after me for a semester." Ayaya, I really want Cheng to chase after me again. I didn't feel anything back then and didn't get to enjoy it properly. Valentine's Day last year? At that time, Lu Cheng hadn't reached 9th pin yet, right? Ji Lingxi recalled the introduction she had read about Lu Cheng. Probably a weak 9th pin, Yen Zheka retorted seriously. Ji Lingxi took a deep breath and furrowed her brows. She said in surprise, "In other words, when you two got together, he was just a newcomer who didn't show any signs of becoming a heavenly son of the age at all." "Ku, you have good taste. At that time, I didn't think that he would be so talented as to reach rank 6 so quickly." Yen Zheka rolled her eyes and bit her pink lips. She said, "I just felt that he was silly and very attentive to me." Yes, very attentive. He was also very motivated and willing to work hard. Chatting with him and going through the challenge tournament with him were very interesting. That's why I fell in love with him. As she spoke, her tone gradually softened. Obvious sweetness and happiness overflowed between her eyebrows. Her eyes were like ripples in the spring breeze. At this moment, Ji Lingxi felt that her cousin was too beautiful to look at directly. She was blinded by the happiness in her words. Why were all my 3 boyfriends useless and unmotivated? But Ku could pick an old classmate who had just reached 9th pin and pick a heavenly son of the age? Was there really something wrong with her taste or the standard of her choice? After Yen Zheka finished her narration, she stopped reminiscing and looked at her cousin with gentle and bright eyes. She waved her white hand in front of her. "Sister Lingxi?" Ji Lingxi came back to her senses and decided not to continue this topic that would make her feel sad. She chuckled and said, "Ku, did I disturb you and Lu Cheng by calling you before?" Yen Zheka was stunned at first, but then she understood. Thinking of the charm in the car, she couldn't help but blush and deny it. "Of course not. Hey, I'm experienced. First love aside, I have at least 2 serious ones. When you picked up the phone, even as a woman, my heart skipped a beat. If it were a man, he would have knelt down and said, okay, I'll listen to you. I'll give you whatever you want." Ji Lingxi said. Ji Lingxi teased. She reached out and poked her cousin's collarbone. "Besides, isn't there physical evidence?" Yen Zheka looked down blankly and saw a red, obvious kiss mark on her delicate collarbone. Her collar was wrinkled with gauze and covered her collarbone in a refined and elegant manner. Even Lu Cheng didn't notice that he had left a mark. It was only when she changed into her nightgown that everything was exposed. All of a sudden, Yen Zheka felt her face burning. She wished she could find a hole and hide in it. She had a subtle feeling of being caught red-handed in bed. She jumped out of bed in embarrassment and anger and ran to the dressing mirror. She took a selfie on her collarbone and sent it to Lu Cheng. "It's all your fault. It's all your fault. My cousin saw it." Lu Cheng had just finished lamenting that the fate of his relatives and friends had changed because of him when he saw the girl's message. I was too excited just now. Ji Lingxi saw the whole process of Yan Zheka getting out of bed and taking a selfie. She suddenly felt a sense of loss. This was the kind of pureness and passion that only real first love had. Her first love, which was like a child's play, came to an abrupt end. It couldn't even be considered a first love. By the time she fell in love with him for the second time, she loved him so much that they hurt each other so much that they broke up in the end. By the time she had a boyfriend for the third time, her heart had already aged. She thought more and did less. She was no longer pure and unrestrained. Seeing Yan Zheka come back bashfully, Ji Lingxi adjusted her mood and smiled. "Ku, let's sleep together tonight. I have a lot of things to ask you." "Okay." Yan Zheka hesitated for a while and then nodded. When Ji Lingxi went back to the bedroom to take a shower and change into her nightgown, she lay on the bed and buried her face in the pillow. She raised her legs and swung them. She had planned to calm down and get rid of the blush on her cheeks. However, she inexplicably recalled the passion by the river and the panic between them. Yan Zheka suddenly sat up and bit her lower lip. She picked up her phone and opened the search page. She seriously thought about the brand and model of the car she had driven before. Then, she bashfully typed a line of words in the search bar with a hint of a smile. "Can the passenger seat of XXX car be flat? How do I do it?" Click. The search results refreshed. Yan Zheka had just browsed a few when she suddenly received a message from her boyfriend. "Ku, what's the brand and model of the car we just drove out of?" Lu Cheng asked with an emoji pushing up his sunglasses. Seeing the familiar question, Yan Zheka's face turned red again. She replied with 2 words. "Pervert." "Pervert?" Lu Cheng looked at the inexplicable answer and scratched his head in confusion. "I just thought that this car was good. It was fast and stable. If I need a car in the future, I can consider it. That's why I asked. How did I become a pervert?" The next morning, Lu Cheng temporarily put his doubts to the back of his mind. He got up on time, washed up, and went out. He found a corner in the spacious courtyard of the Ji family's old house. Breathing in the fresh air, he visualized the swordsman formula and the corresponding internal training methods of Frost Force and Zhu Rong Force. The injury on his arm would be healed by the end of May. Therefore, he was not in a hurry to practice his moves. Instead, he concentrated his qi and blood to comprehend the force concentration of the balance between ice and fire. In practice, he felt the experience of the yin and yang 2 forms that old Master Ji had shown him yesterday. The key to the inhuman level was the strengthening of one's willpower and the improvement of one's mental control over one's root pulp. Under the accumulation of internal training, one's body would show signs of supernatural abilities, and one's quality would change. However, this did not mean that one could enter the inhuman level seamlessly with supernatural abilities. Possessing certain characteristics due to this realm and possessing similar characteristics due to certain characteristics were completely different. They were fundamentally different. Lu Cheng's ice and fire supernatural ability came from the stimulation of the Jin Dan and the blending of power, which was different from his Frost Force and Zhu Rong Force. If he wanted to enter the inhuman level, he still had to follow the prescribed internal training and change his root pulp so that it was compatible with the martial arts instead of the Jin Dan. When the supernatural ability of ice and fire, Frost Force, and Zhu Rong Force were perfectly integrated, there would be no difference. That was one of the main conditions to enter the inhuman level. His qi and blood, spirit, and force all contracted and embraced each other in balance. Then, they quickly collapsed and rushed out. Lu Cheng observed the subtle changes in his body, looking for the traces of the changes of yin and yang, ice and fire. Unknowingly, the sky was bright and the sun was piercing. Lu Cheng put away his stance and exhaled a mouthful of foul air, ending the morning training. His physical qualities were not at the level of the top 6th pin. How could he enter the inhuman level in one step? Calming down, Lu Cheng returned to the house and met Ji Zhenjiang and Dou Ning, who had also returned from training. They nodded in satisfaction. After breakfast, Ji Lingxi went out to see to play. Yan Zheka's stomach started to hurt, so she went back to her room to lie down. Lu Cheng went to sleep beside her and rubbed her stomach with his warm hands. Yan Zheka felt the familiar support and the care to relieve the pain. She felt that the pain was not so bad. Sneaking a glance at Lu Cheng, she suddenly recalled what her cousin, Ji Lingxi, had said last night. "Ku, are you still going abroad?" "Yes." "Are you willing to give up your Lu Cheng? Are you not afraid?" Are you not afraid of problems?
I believe in him and I believe in myself.
Then enjoy it. There is only 1 year and 3 months left. Hearing this, Yan Zheka's mood inexplicably darkened. She couldn't help but lean closer to Lu Cheng. There is only 1 year left. I have to cherish every day with Cheng. After the pain of the first day passed, Lu Cheng and Yan Zheka had a good time in Linning with their tour guide, Jilingxi. On the afternoon of the 4th, they set off on their return journey. In the past few days, except for her aunt who went to Shushen's study to take care of Lin Kei, Yan Zheka's uncles, Ling Feng and Ling Yun all had excuses to not come back. When they returned to campus, Lu Cheng and Yan Zheka's life was once again fulfilling. Every day, they had to work overtime to make up for the classes they missed. Fortunately, during the national competition, they rarely went out. After watching the videos of their opponents, they spent most of their time studying. Finally, they caught up with the progress before the final exam and were confident about their grades. After the last exam, Yan Zheka was about to wait for Lu Cheng when the class monitor told her to go to the school office. Cheng, I'm going to the lower house office. Wait for me after the exam. She sent a message with her dimples. Then she followed the class monitor to the dean's office and saw 3 classmates who were in the same training program as her. When the dean saw that everyone was present, he crossed his arms and coughed. Ivan University has made a request. They hope that the training program can be advanced by 1 year and you can go there in your 3rd year. This way you can adapt better and learn better. The school has thought about it and thinks it's a good idea. Seeing the dean's mouth open and close, Yan Zheka didn't hear the rest of his words. There was only one thought echoing in her mind. 1 year ahead, 1 year ahead. Chapter 422. 1 year in advance, 1 year in advance. At this moment, Yan Zheka didn't feel happy at all. Instead, she felt flustered and sad, as if she had been diagnosed with a terminal illness. At the beginning of May, when Jilingxi asked her if she still insisted on going abroad, her answer was firm and resolute. However, when everything happened in advance, she suddenly felt the strong reluctance in her heart. She had promised to go drifting with Cheng during the summer vacation, to go to the northern lands to see the aurora in January next year, to spend her and Cheng's 21st birthday together, to go to Yuanyang Mountain to ask for the lock of love on their 2nd anniversary together, to announce their relationship after meeting his parents, to stick together every day, and to whisper sweet nothings to each other. She thought too much, promised too much, and had too little time. Bring the materials. I just mentioned here as soon as possible. The school will help you with all the procedures. If everything goes well, you can leave at the beginning of August. There will be a short-term language training program. I believe it will be easy for you with your foreign language foundation. Well, you can go back now. If you can't remember the materials, here is the list. The dean stroked his increasingly precious hair tenderly. Early August? It's the end of June. That means there is only 1 month left. In 30 days, I will be separated from Cheng. I can only see him 2 or 3 times a year. Yan Zheka suddenly felt breathless and her heart tightened. She endured the sudden throbbing, took the list blankly, and followed the students in front of her out of the dean's office. Yan Zheka. Suddenly, she heard a slightly shrill voice. Yan Zheka came back to herself and looked up at Huang Shiwen. Huang Shiwen was the one who had received the same training quota as her. Huang Shiwen was the one who had called her just now. What? Yan Zheka responded blankly. What were you thinking about? I said, when we get there we can live together, okay? We know each other and are classmates. We can take care of each other. Huang Shiwen complained and repeated what she had just said. Her chubby face washed away her gorgeous features, making her easy to get close to. The 2 boys beside her were also discussing the same thing. Yan Zheka was a girl who would never cry when she was sad. She was used to keeping all kinds of negative emotions in the bottom of her heart and not letting them out. When Huang Shiwen finished, she had already controlled herself and answered with a faint smile. Okay, if there is no other arrangement at home. They were all classmates and didn't lack each other's contact information. Without saying much, they parted ways in front of the school building, each with their own business. On the way to the basic teaching building, Yan Zheka wandered under the shade of the trees, tasting the reluctance and nostalgia in her heart. She had been gone for at most 5 to 6 years, or at least 3 to 4 years.
She had been gone for more than 1,000 days and nights, longer than the time I had spent with Chung.
There were many accidents, many coincidences, many tests, and many suspicions. If she was not careful, her feelings would be fragile and dissipate. Even if I don't go abroad, I can still study deeply, share the Empress Dowager's worries, and do whatever I want in the field I like. Wouldn't it be nice to be with Ching every day, accompanying him as he climbed to the peak of martial arts, sharing his pain and suffering, feeling his happiness, anger and sadness, and watching each other grow old bit by bit until the end? But if I really give up, I will regret it for the rest of my life. I will feel that my years of effort have been wasted. I will feel that my personality is no longer complete and I will become Cheng's accessory. Dream or love? Once again, Yen Zheka sighed as if a hero's breath was short of love. Maybe it's really like what Dad and Empress Dowager said. It's best not to fall in love in college and to go easy. At this moment, a melody inexplicably appeared in her mind. If there is no you and no past, I won't be sad. But if there is an if, I will still love you. Yes, no matter what, I still want to love that silly Cheng. Yen Zheka bit her lip. Her emotions rose and fell. After a painful struggle, she decided to take the opportunity to study abroad. I believe in myself and Cheng. I believe that we can withstand the test of time and distance. I believe that we can finally walk together and go through all the hardships and happiness in life. Phew. She spat out the melancholy and sadness in her heart. Then she heard the special notification sound of her phone. She took it out of her bag and found that it was a message from Lu Cheng. Ku, are you still not done? Do you want me to pick you up at your school building? Yen Zheka's eyes turned red because of this simple sentence. She turned her head and looked aside. After a while, she replied with an expression that looked like she was crying and laughing at the same time. I'm done. You stand there and wait for me. Her fingers paused in the middle of typing and then she pretended to type the last few words. I'll pick you up. Okay, the usual place. Lu Cheng replied with a silly smile. At this moment, his phone suddenly rang. It was from his mother. Hello, Cheng. Have you finished your exams? How do you feel? Chi Fong asked about his studies out of habit. Just right. Not bad. Lu Cheng couldn't find any other words to describe it. His grades were probably above 60 or 70. He probably didn't fail any subjects. Chi Fong didn't really care about her son's studies. After a short sentence, she asked the key question. When will you come back? Have you booked the tickets? She lowered her voice and said excitedly, Cheng, why don't you bring that classmate of yours home and let Mom and Dad meet her? It's that Yen Zheka. You two are destined to meet. High school classmate, college classmate, martial arts club teammate. After defeating Shanbei in the finals, Yen Zheka and Lu Cheng hugged each other passionately and almost kissed each other, which blinded a group of single dogs. At the same time, it also exposed their relationship in front of Lu Jisheng and Chi Fong. That night, during their daily call, Lu Cheng witnessed his mother's ability to gossip and was bombarded for a long time. After her son finally grew up and had a wife, he almost forgot about his mother. Chi Fong was quite satisfied with Yen Zheka, who was very good in all aspects. Plus, they were from the same hometown, so she was more satisfied with them. She kept urging her son to bring his girlfriend back and let them meet her. To be honest, if her son didn't win the national championship and was called the heavenly son of the age, she felt that she would be more nervous. She was worried that her son didn't deserve her daughter-in-law and that they would fall in love in the future. Yes, that's right, that's a phrase she just learned from TV. Mom, I've told Ku that I'll bring her to our house when I'm free when I'm back in Xiaofan. Lu Cheng didn't specify a specific day because he still wanted to abduct Ku and try to find a place to go on a trip with her before they returned to Xiaofan. Okay. You have to tell me in advance. I have to go grocery shopping and prepare a welcome gift. Chi Fong rambled on. Suddenly, she remembered something. Come to my door, come to my door. Oh, last summer, didn't Han Er's wife say that a very beautiful girl came to our neighborhood? I wonder whose girlfriend she is. Cheng, tell me honestly, it's Yen Zheka, right? She's here for you, right? Yes. Lu Cheng wiped his cold sweat and admired his mother's memory of gossip. Of course, he also had a deep impression of this matter because it was the first time in his memory that he saw and felt the beautiful body of a girl in real life. Moreover,
It was the body of his beloved girl. You two were together at that time?
Qifeng's voice suddenly rose. You're all grown up now, aren't you?
You hid it from me for almost a year.
Mom, I was wrong. I wanted to tell you after my relationship with Ku had been confirmed. Lu Cheng's apology came naturally to his mother. Practice made perfect. Qifeng wasn't angry.
She pondered for a moment and said, I told you that you look very smart in your clothes for more than a year.
Fortunately, her son dared to bring his girlfriend home secretly after he went to college, unlike the others who were caught fooling around at home in junior high or high school. After chatting for a while, Lu Cheng hung up the phone and saw Ku walking quickly toward him. She was dressed in a t-shirt, denim shorts, and white sneakers, which showed the youthful look of a student. What are you going to do in the institute? Lu Cheng asked with concern. Yen Zheka pursed her lips and lowered her eyebrows. She smiled and said, there are some changes to the training plan. I'll tell you after it's confirmed. Who were you talking to on the phone?
My mom.
She urged me to take you home to meet my parents. Lu Cheng raised his eyebrows and smiled deliberately.
He muttered in his heart. Some changes?
What changes? He always paid special attention to Coach Yan's affairs. Yen Zheka, who wanted to say something coquettishly, opened her mouth a few times and only said 3 words with a smile. Okay. Aren't you nervous? Lu Cheng asked in surprise. Yen Zheka was amused. She stared at him and said, it's because you keep telling me that your parents are very nice and satisfied with me. I'm not nervous. You're right. It's good that you're not nervous. Lu Cheng asked with expectation. Then when do we go back? How about we find a place to hang out for a few days and have a date? Yen Zheka raised her eyebrows and looked at him deeply. She took the initiative to suggest, well, let's hang out in Songqing for a few days?
There were too many memories of her and Cheng here.
Okay, I'll make a guide later. Let's see what's worth playing and eating in Songqing. Lu Cheng didn't really care where they went. What was important was to be with his little fairy. Yen Zheka tilted her head and outlined her dimples. She waved her hand, happily. Let's go to the aquarium in the afternoon. We've been talking about going but we've missed it. Speaking of this, she laughed and said, how much do you remember about marine biology?
I've almost forgotten. Lu Cheng deliberately covered his face and sighed.
Yen Zheka laughed and said, that's good. Otherwise, I'll look very ignorant. I'll go back and change my clothes and wipe my face first. I have to take my date with Cheng seriously. Infected by his girlfriend's unexpected excitement and joy, Lu Cheng was in high spirits. After returning to the dormitory, he quickly packed his luggage and waved goodbye to Zhao Chong, Kai Zongming and the others. It was cool today, not as hot as a few days ago. Lu Cheng waited for a while and saw Yen Zheka coming out with a suitcase. She had changed her clothes. She was wearing a white cotton skirt, a pink jacket, a pair of cute canvas shoes and skin-tight stockings. Her face was covered with light makeup, which made her already beautiful face even more radiant. This was how she looked when she invited Lu Cheng to the aquarium in March last year. Lu Cheng was really amazed at that time and had a deep impression of her. After taking the suitcase, he said with confusion and amusement, Ku, are you going to relive the past? You still remember? Yen Zheka asked in surprise. Of course. I almost couldn't move my eyes away. How could I forget? Lu Cheng said with a smile. Yen Zheka chuckled a little complacently, clenched her fist and waved it. This is a date to make up for last year's regret, so it's still the same. I'm looking forward to it. Lu Cheng replied with a bright smile. Then he coughed and said with expectation, I've already booked a hotel. Just 1 room. With my current relationship with Ku, there's no need to secretly book 2 rooms, right? Okay. Yen Zheka looked forward and nodded slightly. Chapter 423. Lu Cheng was overjoyed to hear his girlfriend's affirmative answer. He quickened his pace and felt that they had made a breakthrough in their relationship. He didn't continue to mention the accommodation because he didn't want to aggravate her shyness. Instead, he started to ponder. A date to make up for last year's regret? Everything as usual? But I don't remember what I was wearing at that time. Yen Zheka thought about it seriously and burst into laughter. I don't remember either. She only remembered Cheng's tired face, his slightly wrinkled eyebrows, and his movements that made her want to kiss him. Thinking of this, she pursed her lips and lowered her head. Her eyes flickered as she looked at her toes. She wrapped her arms around her boyfriend's arms and leaned closer to him. It's okay. Rough guys wear the same clothes every day. Just put up with it. There's no difference. Lu Chang mocked himself in the way girls usually did. While talking and laughing, they boarded the school bus and arrived downtown. They found the 5-star hotel that Lu Chang had booked. While walking to the front desk, Zhaka suddenly stopped and looked aside. She pretended to take out her ID card from her bag and said, "You go and check in. I'll wait for you here." As she spoke, an unnatural blush appeared on her cheeks. Seeing this, Lu Chang understood. He held back his laughter and took the girl's ID card. He said calmly, "Okay." Previously, when he didn't return home at night, he had booked 2 rooms at first and then cancelled them later. Moreover, he had always appeared alone and asked Ku to face the front desk with him. Just 1 room was indeed difficult for a shy girl like her. Well, after a few more times, she would get used to it. Now, she would leave it to a thick-skinned boy. Hee. Putting down their luggage, Lu Cheng came to the front desk and handed over their ID cards. "We booked it online." The girl at the front desk looked up at him and was suddenly stunned. She blurted out, "Lu Cheng? You know me?" Lu Cheng asked in amusement. "Yes." The girl at the front desk nodded hard. "I watched your national competition. I really liked your performance. You were so awesome and handsome." She was a little excited. "Well, I'm really famous now. I have to wear glasses as a disguise." Lu Cheng thought and smiled. Thank you. Give me your autograph later." The receptionist picked up his ID card and began to check in. She was stunned for a moment and said, "2 people? This is F*King embarrassing." Lu Cheng said shamelessly, "Yeah, me and my girlfriend." "Oh." The girl at the front desk didn't say anything else. She quickly made a copy of his ID card and completed the check-in procedures. In the end, she handed the form to Lu Cheng and said, "Sign your name here. Also, sign your name on this piece of paper for me. For you shall we?" After he was done, Lu Cheng took the room card and returned to Zhaka. 1506. Zhaka looked at the receptionist curiously. "What were you talking about?" "The girl at the front desk has watched the nationals and knows me. She asked me for an autograph," Lu Cheng answered honestly. Zhaka froze for a moment, her face turning bright red at a speed visible to the naked eye. She hurriedly turned around and said shyly to the door, "I don't live here anymore." The first time she shared a room with Chung, she met his fans. I am too ashamed to meet them. If I had known, I would have checked in alone and let Cheng sneak into the room." "What are you afraid of? We are perfectly justified." Lu Cheng comforted her with a smile. "We have already gotten the room card. Others have already begun to think what they want. Just let them be." Zhaka had the mentality to throw away everything. She restrained her emotions and followed her boyfriend to the 15th floor, putting their luggage in the room. "What are we having for lunch?" Lu Cheng looked at the cloudy sky outside the window and asked. Their exam was the first round, which ended at 10 o'clock. It was only 12 o'clock now. Zhaka didn't think, as if she had already thought of the answer. "Spicy crab on the tripod. The one where we had our first date." How could Lu Cheng forget this? "Yeah, I want to reminisce." Zhaka nodded cutely. After a little tidying up, they went out hand in hand and took a taxi to the place where they had their first date last year. Luckily, the door was still open. Lu Cheng looked at the sign of "Spicy Crab on the Tripod" and felt happy. For the place that carried his beautiful memories, he definitely hoped that it would stay there forever and never change. So did Zhaka. Her dimples deepened and her smile became sweeter. When they entered the restaurant, the waiter was just about to greet them. Before he could say anything, Lu Cheng saw the price tag and said quickly, "2, the one that costs 199 yuan, 12 crab, hand-fried noodles, shrimp dumplings, beef." The waiter was stunned for a few seconds and said, Please slow down. I'll remember it." "Shouldn't you order the crab first and then check the other options on the menu after sitting down?" Zhaka couldn't hide her smile.
These were all the dishes they had ordered on their first date, but the quantity was more than double. Chung still remembers. Her eyes softened and she deliberately said jokingly, "Wow, you're getting better at answering first." Hey, they're all the dishes we ordered last time." Lu Chung led Ku to a seat and sat down. "You still remember?" Yen Zheka rested her chin on one hand and looked at him with bright eyes. Lu Cheng chuckled and said, "At that time, I observed what you liked to eat and what you didn't like to eat, so I had some impression of the dishes you ordered. At first, it was a little vague, and I only had a vague memory of it. Now that I am here, I remember it." Listening to her boyfriend showing off, Yen Zheka's eyes welled up with tears. She quickly turned her head to the side and held back the throbbing in her heart. After a few seconds, she changed the topic and said coquettishly, "I also paid attention to what you didn't like, but you didn't eat anything. This shows that I'm easy to take care of. I eat whatever I'm given." Lu Chung smiled and praised himself. Well, if little Ming was opposite, he would probably say, "Do you eat **T if I give you **T? But Ku would definitely not do that. "Then I'll give you the leftovers in the future." Yen Zheka tried to make her tone light. As usual, the two ate to their heart's content. Their appetite was so big that they ordered 2 more dishes. The waiter was stunned. He saw the boss and insisted on giving them VIP cards. In such a mid-priced restaurant with no luxurious dishes, the two of them could eat more than 3,000 yuan. No matter where they were, they could get the VIP treatment. After finishing their meal, Lu Cheng and Yen Zheka walked along the route of their first date. "Cheng, do you still remember where you held my hand?" the girl asked with great interest. Lu Cheng seriously recalled and said with self-mockery, "I didn't pay attention to where we were and where we were. My mind was full of whether to hold your hand, how to hold it, and whether you would shake it off. When we really held hands, I was so excited and happy that I forgot the directions. I only had you and your hand in my heart. It was like walking on clouds, so light that I wanted to fly." Yen Zheka pursed her lips and rolled her eyes. She seemed to really feel her boyfriend's state at that time. It was as if a sudden joy hit her heart. She turned her head and looked at the side of the street. She was actually a bit shaken by the decision she made in the morning. "What about you? Do you still remember where we tied the knot?" Lu Qing asked in reply. Yen Zheka rolled her eyes and pouted. "If you don't remember, how can I remember? At that time I was very nervous. My mind was on your hand that kept leaning towards me. I wondered if you were going to hold my hand, how I should react, whether I would hurt you, whether I was reserved enough, whether I was. In short, my mind was full of random thoughts. I was lucky that I didn't bump into anyone else. Later on, I realized that you were stupid and silly, and even held hands foolishly. My heart softened, and I inexplicably took the initiative to hold your hand." Speaking of this, both of them completely recalled the naivety, ignorance, sweetness and passion of that time. They smiled at each other and raised their hands that had been intertwined since they came out of the meal. Although they didn't have the mentality of not knowing where to go when holding hands, they held hands more calmly and firmly. There was a faint sense of permanence. In this way, the two walked side by side on the street, warm and sweet. "Do you remember that we bought a fresh cream cake here?" Lu Chung smiled and pointed at the sign of Mimi bread. Yen Zheka bit her lip and chuckled. "Not only do I remember that, but I also remember that someone lied to me." "Ah!" Lu Chung was at a loss. "Someone told me that the fresh cream cake here was not so sweet and was suitable for me. He said he found it on the internet." Yen Zheka hummed. "The sweetness was just right, but I couldn't find this shop on the internet." Lu Chung suddenly realized what was going on. He smiled embarrassedly. "I came here to check it out and try it. At that time, didn't you say that you still need to adjust your mentality and not fully prepared? I was afraid that if I said it, it would be like forcing you to be moved and giving you too much pressure." Before he finished, Yen Zheka's eyes were already red and rippling. She suddenly took a step forward and threw herself into his arms. She hugged him tightly and buried her face in his shoulder. "What's wrong?" Lu Chung was startled. Yen Zheka tried to hold back her tears. "Can't I be moved?" Hee. Lu Chung stroked the girl's glossy black hair and smiled contentedly. It was always a joyful thing to get a response for one's efforts.
Let's buy another fresh cream cake later and eat it together tonight. After a while, Yan Zheka withdrew from Lu Cheng's arms and her expression returned to normal.
Okay.
Lu Cheng pulled her into the bakery. After buying the cake, they took a taxi to the ocean aquarium. This time, there was no unexpected situation to interrupt them. Look, this is a starfish. After tearing it into pieces, each piece can become a new starfish. Lu Cheng pointed to a creature behind the glass. Yan Zheka was surprised. Didn't you say that you had almost forgotten your marine biology?
When I was waiting for you, I crammed it again.
Lu Cheng answered complacently and pointed to a kind of marine creature.
It is. Damn it, I forgot.
I failed to show off and became a clown.
Ha ha.
Yan Zheka covered her mouth and laughed until tears came out.
After a long time, she wiped her eyes and said, "There should be an introduction beside it."
If you really can't find it, I'll allow you to search it on your phone, commentator Lu. They laughed and laughed until the aquarium was closed. They found the restaurant where they had their second date and enjoyed dinner.
Lu Cheng pretended to go to the bathroom and went downstairs to buy a bouquet of flowers as usual.
Beauty, you dropped something. He put his left hand behind his back and smiled at Yan Zheka. Familiar lines and familiar scenes. Yan Zheka opened her mouth little by little and her eyes were covered with tears. She forced a smile.
Flowers.
Yes, you dropped it.
Lu Cheng bowed slightly like a gentleman and handed the flowers to the girl.
Yan Zheka held the flowers and quickly closed her eyes, pretending to smell the fragrance. After a long time, she looked at Lu Cheng and said, "But I dropped something else."
What?
Lu Cheng asked with a smile. Yan Zheka's eyes flashed like water. She pursed her lips and turned her head. Boyfriend. Lu Cheng burst into laughter and directly sat next to the girl. Their fingers were intertwined. While he was happy, he inexplicably felt that Ku was a little clingy today. After dinner and a walk, Yan Zheka and Lu Cheng returned to the hotel with the flowers and cake. The light in the room was dim. Outside the window, there was a river of stars. It was quiet and private. Lu Cheng, who had shared a bed many times, couldn't help but think as if he was looking forward to something. At this moment, Yan Zheka put the bouquet on the table and sat on the edge of the bed. She touched her calf and stomach and said softly, "I feel so sore when I walk. Cheng, come and help me massage my feet. Pinch my legs." This was a common thing between the two of them, so there was nothing strange about it. However, as she spoke, she suddenly blushed. Unable to hide her shyness, she lowered her head and looked at her right hand that was supporting the bed. Her right hand was as beautiful as a budding flower. Lu Cheng's heart skipped a beat when he heard this. Chapter 424. Was Ku inviting someone to join her? While thinking of this, he forgot about the fresh cream cake and threw it aside. He walked to the bedside, squatted down and held Yan Zheka's left ankle. Just as he touched her silky smooth skin, he suddenly heard the girl's skin and muscles trembling. He heard her heart beating faster and faster. He heard her body temperature gradually increasing. This reaction was completely different from the usual before a massage. Dong dong dong. Every heartbeat of Yan Zheka's seemed to resonate with Lu Cheng's heart, making his mouth dry and his body hot. He was inexplicably looking forward to something. There was no other contact, no other ambiguity. He already felt his blood vessels swelling as he tried to do it as usual. During this process, Yan Zheka's heart beat faster and faster. Lu Cheng held his breath, feeling that he was about to turn into a werewolf. Dong dong dong. The slightest provocation was like the last straw that broke the camel's back, like the call from the little fairy, like the starting gun. Lu Cheng suddenly lost control and lowered his head. This place has been sacrificed to the divine beast. The night was short, but the passion was long. After a series of ups and downs, Lu Cheng woke up under the urging of his biological clock. His nose was filled with a faint fragrance, and his body was warm and soft. Everything was like a beautiful dream. Recalling the events of last night, he unconsciously revealed a silly smile. He only felt that his body and mind were satisfied, and his spirit was perfect. Everything in this world was so beautiful. He raised his head slightly and looked at Yan Zheka, who was curled up in his arms like a child. He looked at her painful and pure expression, which made him want to protect her.
He looked at her beautiful face, which was set off by her long black hair. He felt the girl's delicate skin and the touch that he couldn't bear to part with. He felt her clinging to him as if she was afraid of losing him. Lu Cheng felt that his heart was about to melt. He could still hear the words, Cheng, echoing in his ears. This was the fusion of spirit and flesh. This was the other person I was closest to. This is the girl I want to protect for the rest of my life. He lowered his head devoutly and kissed the girl's long eyelashes and red lips. His hands began to move unconsciously, making the early morning hostility even more fierce. I won't do it again. Yen Zheka hit him in a daze and mumbled. She turned over and fell asleep again. It took Lu Cheng a great deal of willpower to get out of bed. He even began to worry about how upset Ku would feel if she didn't see him when she woke up. He almost didn't want to go for his morning exercise. Is this what Ku always says? Long love is short of breath? He laughed at himself, changed his clothes and went out. He found a place nearby and began to train. Both his mind and body were very excited. Although he had slept for less than 2 hours last night, he did not feel tired at all. People are in high spirits when faced with happy events. After finishing the rest of the internal training, Lu Cheng once again tried to comprehend the force concentration. He felt that his willpower had become stronger and firmer. He felt that no one or anything could defeat him. This is the life I want to protect. Ice and fire intertwined, embracing each other in a balanced manner. Amidst the surging and gushing power, it drew the response of the most minute part of his body. The cold light flickered, and the dark flames danced. Lu Cheng finally grasped the signs in the perfect reflection of his soul. He grasped the minute details that made up every cell and every bone and blood in his body. This is the root pulp. He opened his eyes, feeling even happier. Grasping the root pulp meant that he was beginning to reach the inhuman realm. This was not a sufficient condition for a breakthrough, but a necessary condition. Since returning at the beginning of May, after nearly 2 months of training, his physical quality had reached the level of the top 6th pin. He originally thought that he would have to wait for a while for the next improvement. Who knew that after a night of dancing with fish and dragon, his mind was settled, his spirit was refreshed, and his willpower was restored. Naturally, his level increased again. There are still 6 months until the end of the year. I have a good chance of pushing that threshold. Lu Cheng thought happily. Then he put away his stance and hurried back, not wanting to waste a single second. The curtains were closed, but the room was still dark. A strange but exciting smell filled the air. Lu Cheng saw that Yen Zheka was still asleep. He sucked on his fingers, and the smile on his face grew wider. He felt more peaceful and happy. He quickly took off his clothes, took a quick shower, and got into bed. He hugged his soft and fragrant fairy and slept with her until noon. When he woke up, Yen Zheka's eyelashes fluttered, and she slowly opened her eyes. Then she enjoyed a warm wake-up kiss. Morning, no, good afternoon. Lu Cheng put his elbows on the bed and smiled in a low voice. Yen Zheka's eyebrows curved, and she reached out her hands to hold his neck. She smiled sweetly. Good afternoon, my dear. She no longer felt embarrassed to call him that. Just as Lu Cheng was considering whether to eat first or do something, Yen Zheka pursed her lips, and her eyes wavered. She gathered her courage and said, Cheng, I have something to tell you. The training plan of our school has to be brought forward 1 year. She didn't sound determined at all. Instead, she showed some confusion and uncertainty, as if she was asking for help and an answer. Chapter 425. Lu Cheng, whose mind was filled with sweetness and happiness, couldn't digest what Yen Zheka had just mentioned. He was momentarily at a loss. When he came to his senses and understood what was going on, he was instantly struck by a huge sense of loss and sadness. His heart felt as if it was tightly gripped by an invisible hand. A year in advance? That is to say, in 2 months at most, or at least 1 month, Ku will go to a foreign country? The two of them had just joined spiritually and were glued to each other like glue. Right now, Lu Cheng only wished that he could be with his little fairy every minute and every second of every day. Just the thought of her going to stay at her grandfather's house for a few days during the summer and being separated from him made him feel lost. Every day felt like a year, not to mention that they would suddenly be separated from each other for a few years.
At this moment, Lu Cheng's emotions were surging and boiling. He almost blurted out that he should let Ke give up the opportunity and choose to stay so that she wouldn't die. But when he saw the confused and struggling look in her eyes, he suddenly restrained himself and thought of more. This wasn't something he didn't expect at all. He was even mentally prepared for it. It was just that it was suddenly brought forward by a year. This wasn't a reluctant attempt by Ku after they started dating. It was a dream and a plan that had been made long before they met. In March of last year, she had already discussed this matter with him and obtained his consent. She was born with a deficiency. No matter how hard she tried, she couldn't enter the dance stage. Her life's dream had slowly shifted to this matter in the past 5 or 6 years. She came from a well-off family. Even if she didn't do anything in the future, she wouldn't have to worry about her quality of life. The reason why she wanted to study abroad wasn't because she wanted to get a diploma, but because she had such an opportunity. An opportunity to follow the world's top scholars, an opportunity to roam the ocean. The Ji family was very influential in China, but in another big country, their reputation wasn't so good. Once this opportunity was missed, there might not be another one. When they first started dating, didn't Empress Dowager also make a request? 2 people need to sacrifice a certain amount to break in, but she didn't want to see Ke sacrifice her dream for me. Yan Zheka opened her clear eyes and looked at Lu Cheng with inexplicable anxiety. She was swayed, distressed, and struggling because of his silence. If Cheng wants me to stay, what should I say? I will. After the crazy idea she had last night, she decided to try the illusory probability and leave everything to God. The girl felt that she had once again lowered her bottom line. Her heart was filled with sweetness and bitterness. Since ancient times, love was the most torturous. At this moment, Lu Cheng squeezed out a smile and tried to speak in a casual tone. A year earlier? That's pretty good. Doesn't that mean we can come back a year earlier? Previously, I was worried that I would only be able to fly over and spend a few days with you after you left in your 4th year. Now it's just right. My 3rd year is mainly to guide them and do my own preparation. There are very few competitions that I need to participate in. As for my studies, the dean has already told me that he will work hard to ensure that I graduate and successfully obtain a certificate. I will become the school's golden signboard. It doesn't matter how much I skip classes and take exams. Isn't it just a matter of getting a visa and traveling for more than 10 hours? Isn't it simple? Empress Dowager will probably stay with you for a while at first. After that, you can leave it to me. I will fly over once a month and stay for a week or 2. When you are on vacation, we can still go to the northern land to see the aurora. It's even more convenient. We can still travel to those special places. Yan Zheka stood there in a daze as she listened to his slightly long-winded and confused nagging. Her clear and beautiful eyes were gradually covered with tears. Also, my master has said that one needs to accumulate more knowledge and experience before reaching the physical invulnerability stage. Only then can one have a chance to leap over the dragon gate and soar into the sky. When I go over to accompany you, I can also experience the American martial arts. They are the center of the Western world and have different characteristics from our martial arts. They definitely have stronger aspects than us. Before Lu Cheng could finish his words, Yan Zheka suddenly propped herself up and hugged him tightly. She buried her face in his well-defined chest and said in a choked voice, Cheng, I don't want to go. I don't want to leave you. Cheng. Her voice was like a reenactment of their first meeting. Lu Cheng's heart completely softened and almost melted. He took the opportunity to lie down and let the girl lie on his body. He reached out and stroked her hair that was slightly messy due to the sweat from last night. He smiled gently and said, Silly girl, you really don't want to go? The more sad and sentimental she was, the more she wouldn't cry. When Yan Zheka raised her head, she had already held back the throbbing of crying. Her pink lips moved a few times, but she couldn't give a definite answer. That master was very old. It was said that his health was getting worse year by year. If they missed this opportunity, not to mention whether he would still be alive, there would most likely be no more opportunities. Once such a situation occurred, the outstanding disciples he taught would definitely set up their own schools due to their differences in academic knowledge. There would no longer be such a holy land, where so many top scholars gathered. Go. I hope you can become better and better with me, instead of sacrificing yourself. On the other hand, I also have to work hard to become a better version of myself. I can't be left behind by you. Lu Cheng smiled softly while caressing her. But you're giving up too much. Yen Zheka bit her lower lip with her white and neat teeth. Her voice was still lingering with hesitation. Why did the role change? Why am I persuading Ku to study abroad? Lu Cheng smiled bitterly and answered seriously. Two people are going to spend a lifetime together. How can we be entangled with who gives more and who gives less? Besides, you also have to give. Every time you have a holiday, you have to come back and accompany me. Every day, you have to insist on saying a few sweet words to me. When you encounter a problem or feel vulnerable, don't hide it from me. Tell me and I'll fly over immediately. After knowing that Yen Zheka was going to study abroad last year, he had been reading similar posts and summarizing other people's gains and losses. That was why he could say such words. Yes, yes. I promise, I swear. Yen Zheka breathed a sigh of relief as if she had finally found the answer. She stopped struggling and pursed her lips, nodded, and cutely raised 3 fingers. Lu Cheng turned back and scratched her cute nose. He smiled slightly and said, You see, I have the ability and free time to fly over to see you at any time. I can accompany you for a few days, or even a dozen days, or even every month. Hee. Absence makes the heart grow fonder. If the security there is not too good, I can also spend a lot of money to hire female dance stage seniors from Shushan Study or Ice God Sect to accompany you and protect you. And you can come back at least twice a year, or even more. In this way, the test of time and distance will be minimized. I read a book before. There's a very reasonable sentence in it. All the fear of a long-distance relationship is the hatred of one's own powerlessness. Speaking of this casually, he smiled and his eyes became firm. Let me say something that may be a bit boastful. I've worked hard to improve my martial arts to reach my current level. Apart from my love for martial arts and my desire to compete with my idol, isn't the more important reason why I want to make the difficulties between us no longer be difficulties one day? Isn't it so that I can reduce the influence of various methods in the face of challenges and not be powerless? This is the true meaning of protection. If your girlfriend is abroad and you have money and time, but you are not willing to spend time to visit and maintain your relationship, no matter how well you say it, it's just to move yourself. That's all. Yen Zheka listened with drunken eyes. As soon as Lu Cheng finished speaking, she crawled up, lowered her head, and pressed her moist lips on Lu Cheng's. Sticking out her tongue, they tangled intensely. Because she was not wearing underwear, her body was exposed when she moved. Lu Cheng caught a glimpse of her from the corner of his eye. The beautiful scene of red and white was reflected in his mind and ignited his blood. As they kissed, Yen Zheka suddenly paused and hit Lu Cheng shyly. You pervert, when I'm so moved you can. She was too embarrassed to finish her sentence. Lu Cheng could only laugh dryly and say, I can't help it. Pfft. Yen Zheka burst into laughter. Her previous haze was gone. She propped herself up slightly and looked at Lu Cheng with her charming eyes. She suggested softly as if she had made up her mind. Cheng, let's get married. Ah. Lu Cheng was dumbfounded and confused. He asked back. Are you proposing to me? Yes. Yen Zheka nodded like a chicken pecking rice. Lu Cheng came to his senses and looked at Yen Zheka, who was serious. He asked again. Really? This is not a joke. This is not a drill? Yes. Yen Zheka's eyes were gentle and her smile contained both determination and impulse. She counted with her fingers and said, First, we are both 18 years old. We are adults and can get married. There is no such thing as late marriage and late childbirth in China. Second, our household registers are in school. Before the holidays, we can borrow them. Yen Zheka said tirelessly. Her dimples deepened as if she was brewing a jar of wine. Lu Cheng was drunk even before he drank. The girl took a breath and blushed. She looked at Lu Cheng shyly but firmly. Third, I'm not forcing you to do anything or wait for me. I'm just making a promise. I can protect myself until the end. I want to tell you that I've made up my mind. I'm willing. You're the only other half in my mind. I'm willing to marry you. I want to be your husband and wife. I'm willing too. Before Yen Zheka asked, the emotional Lu Cheng said, Then let's go back to school now and find an excuse to borrow our household register. Then go buy a ring. How can we not have a ring when we get married? Yes. Zheka's eyes were covered with mist. She nodded briskly. This has nothing to do with other things. It belongs to the two of us, Chang and Ku's wedding. How can one not be impulsive and crazy in their youth? Chapter 426. After eating the cake and desserts they bought last night, Lu Cheng and Zheka walked out of the hotel hand in hand and took a bus back to the old campus. They first bought a few sachets from the nearby stores, then slowly walked to the traffic point and returned to the new campus of Songqing University where they had lived for 4 whole semesters. When the scenery of Weishui Lake, the teaching building, the long bridge, and the lakeside corridor came into view, Zheka felt an inexplicable sadness in her heart. She leaned closer to her ex-boyfriend, who was now her husband. Lu Cheng sensed Ku's melancholy at the thought of parting. He wrapped his right arm around her shoulders and pulled her into his embrace. He comforted her with his actions and body temperature. In the quiet but not depressing atmosphere, the couple got off the bus and walked to the administration building with their hands clasped together. They returned the residence page to the management teacher before the end of the day. The excuse they used was the truth. Zheka's participation in the joint training program had to be brought forward by a year, and the school had to help with various procedures. They didn't have time to get a visa to travel abroad, so they had to return the residence page in advance. As for the American visa that Lu Cheng wanted, he didn't plan to get it himself. He planned to get it done through the Ice God sect, which was safer and more convenient. If there was something that required his cooperation, then he would ask. Otherwise, if a dangerous guy who was close to the inhuman stage entered the country, the inspection would be very strict. When everything was done, it was close to noon. They came to the school restaurant, opened the door of the reserved room, and saw Li Liantong, Shi Xiangyang, and Zhong Yenru. Since the first time he treated them to a meal, Lu Cheng and his ex-girlfriend's roommates often had chances to meet. For example, when they had a meal in the dormitory, if it was outside the school, they would ask him to be their bodyguard. If it was inside the school, once it was over, he would come to pick Zheka up, take a walk, and then go on a date. After winning the national championship, the couple was even asked to eat 3 times by them. Therefore, they were not strangers to Lu Cheng. At this time, they all smiled and greeted him. "Hello, great martial artist." Lu Cheng was used to being teased. He raised his hand and waved lightly in response. "Hello, comrades." The girls burst into laughter at the same time. After they had calmed down and sat down, they threw the menus to Lu Cheng for him to choose. Then they turned to Zheka and started talking about her study abroad. "Why so sudden?" Li Liantong maintained a dignified and quiet posture. "Cuckoo, if that's the case, how many years will you be gone for?" Zhong Yenru, who knew about this beforehand, asked with concern. "Woo-woo, I can't bear to part with my fragrant, fair, and soft big cuckoo. Although I already have a boyfriend, I still love you the most." The tall and slender Shi Xiangyang, whose eyes were slightly out of focus, said half jokingly and half sadly. She was the second one in Zheka's dormitory to be single. She claimed that she couldn't take it anymore after being fed dog food for 2 semesters. Following Shi Xiangyang's words, the atmosphere suddenly became gloomy. The sensitive and delicate girls recalled the bits and pieces they had spent together in the past 2 years, and their eyes reddened a little. Zheka forced a smile and said, "A year early is good. This means that I can come back a year early. At that time, Dirty Tong and Cabbage might still be studying and haven't graduated." Li Liantong and Shi Xiangyang had 7 years of clinical experience. They still had a long way to go. "Maybe you already have a child, and we haven't graduated yet." Ever since she became familiar with Lu Cheng, Li Liantong's pretense had decreased, and she could say such shocking words from time to time. After joking for a while, she suddenly sighed and said, "What should I do? I feel like I've fallen out of love. I can't see Cuckoo who always blushes because of my teasing. I can't observe how you fall in love to gain experience. I can't. As she spoke, her voice gradually became softer, and she actually choked with sobs. This immediately made Zhong Yenru and Shi Xiangyang's eyes moisten, and they said similar words. The atmosphere became more and more sad, and Lu Cheng also felt a little uncomfortable. No matter how good and confident he had said before, he panicked when he was concerned. How could he not have some feelings for the departure that was coming in a month's time? However,
He concealed it very well, and his attitude was very proper. He didn't want to affect his little fairy's mood because of this. He exhaled, stood up and said, "I'll go out in order and also use the washroom." This kind of scene was really not suitable for the waiter to come in and order.
Okay.
Zhaka held back her emotions and nodded. After Lu Chang went out, Li Liantong picked up a tissue and wiped the corners of her eyes. She decided to change the topic and liven up the atmosphere. She curled her lips, looked at Zhaka, and squeezed out her signature smile. "Cuckoo. I remember you packed up and left 2 days ago. Ruru also said that I should have informed you on the day the exam ended."
So?
Zhong Yenru asked blankly. Without waiting for Zhaka to speak, Li Liantong chuckled and said, "You left 2 days ago. Why did you suddenly come back to the school to treat us to a meal? You were nearby these 2 days, right? What did you do?" When a couple is about to separate, they can't help but break through their previous boundaries. "Why are your thoughts so dirty?" Zhaka's sadness dissipated, and shyness welled up. She habitually interrupted Li Liantong, wanting to change the topic. "Don't explain. Any explanation is a cover-up. If you don't believe me, you can ask Cabbage and Ruru. They definitely don't believe that you can still control yourself at this time." Li Liantong pointed at Shi Xiangyang and Zhong Yenru, who had a look of realization. Seeing Zhaka's shyness, she blinked her eyes and lowered her voice. "I don't want to ask about your specific progress. I'm just curious. You know, girls tend to have more imagination than guys when they write about pure love. There are always some weird positions, no diverging. I've seen many stories about powerful martial artists. They deduced the application of their various abilities at that time and broke through the sky. I just want to ask you, is it like this, for example?" "Don't ask." After Zhaka understood, she immediately interrupted Dirty Tong's words. Her pretty face became as bright as the sun, and she was so beautiful that it was out of this world. Images flashed in her mind, and she felt her cheeks heat up. Seeing this, Li Liantong laughed out loud. "See, I wasn't wrong, right? If Ku and the rest didn't do anything, they wouldn't have said, 'Don't ask,' just now. Instead, they would have said, 'How would I know?' Sigh, our favorite Cabbage has really been taken by that guy outside." "You tricked me," Zhaka blurted out. She was at a loss and embarrassed. "I actually got tricked by Dirty Tong and admitted it myself. It's mainly because you have a guilty conscience." Li Liantong covered her mouth and laughed. After coming back to their senses and understanding the situation, Shi Xiangyang and Zhong Yenru couldn't help but laugh. They either leaned on the table or lowered their heads, laughing heartily. Infected by them, Zhaka gradually started laughing as well. She felt that she really wasn't cut out for doing bad things, unless Cheng brought her along and helped to cover it up. At this moment, Lu Cheng came back from the washroom. He pushed the door open and said in surprise, "What are you guys laughing about?" Shi Xiangyang, Zhong Yenru and the rest looked at each other. Recalling Li Liantong's example, they laughed even harder and almost slammed the table and chairs. Zhaka was also embarrassed and amused. She couldn't say anything. Lu Cheng looked at them blankly and felt that he really couldn't understand. These 4 girls were so sad and sorrowful just a moment ago. Why are they smiling so brightly and happily in the blink of an eye? Girls are so complicated. The meal was sometimes sad and sometimes cheerful. However, all banquets must come to an end. Amidst the mess of cups and plates, Lu Cheng called the waiter and paid the bill with his phone. After leaving the restaurant, they stood at the door. Zhong Yenru teared up again and said, "Ku, take care of yourself over there. Remember to come and play with us when you come back during the holidays."
Okay.
Zhaka tried her best not to cry and simply nodded in response. Just as Shi Xiangyang was about to speak, she suddenly lost her voice. After taking a deep breath, she said, "Ku, keep in touch when you're free. Now is the age of the internet. Everyone can still chat frequently. You and your Chung have to be good. We're waiting for you to get married and give us red packets." "That's right. I have high hopes for you guys. You'll definitely make it to your wedding day." Li Liantong imitated Zhaka's light-hearted tone. However, the redness at the corner of her eyes and the mist in her eyes had already deeply betrayed her. After a moment of sadness,
Lu Cheng and Yan Zheka bade farewell to them. They looked at each other and held hands again. If Dirty Tong and the others know that they can give us red packets now, they'll definitely be shocked. Yan Zheka smiled with complicated emotions. More than that, it's inevitable that there will be a floor full of glass shards. Lu Cheng sighed and smiled faintly. After that, the newly married couple remeasured the many places they had left behind memories with their footsteps. From the lakeside where the grass was long and the birds were flying, to the desolate and vast western district, from the long bridge where they often met to the teaching building where they had lessons every day. In the next 2.5 days, they rarely went out. Other than eating and practicing martial arts, they stayed in the hotel room. There were even 2 times when they directly ordered takeout. One of them had abnormal physical strength and was full of vigor, while the other was bursting with emotions and was indulging in youthfulness and passion to their heart's content. They couldn't wait to become conjoined twins. On Monday, June 30th, Yan Zheka received the materials sent by Yan Kai and Ji Mingyu. She handed them over to the school office and embarked on the journey back to Xiaofan with Lu Cheng. When there was a need here, she would come back to cooperate. However, at that time, it would most likely be Empress Dowager instead of Lu Cheng who would accompany her. June 30th. 5:40 p.m. The high-speed train was speeding and was about to arrive at Xiaoshan Station. Lu Cheng didn't play with his phone. He tilted his head and looked at the exhausted fairy who was sleeping. Thinking of the crazy days these days, his heart was full of tenderness and sweetness. He felt that his wife was so beautiful and he liked her so much. At first, he put his arm around Yan Zheka's shoulder. Then, he felt that it wasn't enough, so he slid down to hold her slender waist. Then, he felt that it wasn't enough, so he leaned over and held her completely in his arms, breathing in her fragrance. After a while, Yan Zheka woke up from her sleep with trembling eyelashes. She looked up and saw Lu Cheng's familiar face. The loss caused by the nightmare immediately disappeared. She reached out and hugged her husband's waist. After hugging quietly for a while, their phones rang at the same time. It was from each other's mother. "Hello, Mom. What's up?" Lu Cheng answered the phone in surprise and lowered his voice. Yan Zheka beside him also spoke in a similar tone. Xiaofan nagged. "You're coming back soon, right? We were going to eat at home tonight, but your grandpa asked us to come over. He said that Ertzi wanted to treat us. He heard that you're back, so he insisted on treating us." Chapter 427. Seriously, they didn't even know to postpone it for a day. "I'm already drooling over your home-cooked dishes." Lu Cheng flattered. Xiaofan smiled proudly. "Isn't that right? I've already bought the groceries. Let's talk about it when you get home. We'll go there when both of you are back." Okay. Lu Cheng hung up the phone and turned to look at his little wife. No, his leader. He smiled and said, "It's my mom." "What a coincidence." "Me too." Yan Zheka smiled and shook the phone. "Empress Dowager and my dad are at the square in front of the station." Lu Cheng thought for a while and said with a smile, "Now I don't have to avoid them and can send you out directly." "Ku, do you think I should call you Mom and Dad?" Yan Zheka opened her mouth and pursed her lips. She glanced at Lu Cheng and said, "I don't care if you have the nerve to call me that." While they were flirting, the train stopped at the station. Lu Cheng stood up and took Yan Zheka's suitcase down with one hand as if it was a child's toy. Carrying the luggage, dragging the suitcase and pulling his wife, Lu Cheng walked out of the train in high spirits and entered the arrival hall. When they were about to go out, they saw the sun outside, the bright sky and the steaming heat. He and Yan Zheka looked at each other subconsciously and sighed suddenly in their hearts. These dreamy, beautiful and crazy days were over. Scenes flashed through their minds one after another, and the two of them fell silent. However, they pulled each other even tighter and leaned closer together. Out of the hall and turning around the road, Lu Cheng's eyes suddenly opened up. The square was dyed golden red in the last brilliance of the setting sun. The elegant Yan Kai and the mature and beautiful Ji Mingyu were waiting a few steps away. They were holding hands and holding umbrellas. "Your parents have such a good relationship." Lu Cheng broke the silence and praised from the bottom of his heart. They had been together for more than 20 years. Yan Zheka raised her head proudly and said with a smile, "Young man, work hard. They are your role model and goal." All goals are meant to be surpassed. Lu Cheng chuckled. While talking, the two of them had already approached Yan Kai, who had a slightly complicated look in his eyes, and Ji Mingyu, who was smiling. Lu Cheng somewhat guiltily called out, "Uncle, Auntie, Dad, Mom." Yan Zhika didn't let go of Lu Cheng's hand and just called them like a spoiled child. Just as Ji Mingyu was about to speak, she glanced at her daughter and her heart skipped a beat. Although Ke's expression hid her tiredness, her entire person was delicate and radiant. Even as her mother, she had a strong sense of amazement. She thought about how her daughter was going to leave the country soon and was about to leave her boyfriend. As someone who had been there before, she understood. However, she didn't blame Lu Cheng. After he entered the dance stage and won the youth tournament in one fell swoop, she felt that the two little guys would steal the forbidden fruit at any time. Because of this, she even reminded her daughter to pay attention to safety measures. She didn't expect that this kid could hold back until recently. Then she remembered that her daughter didn't give up her dream because of this and obviously got support and understanding from her boyfriend. Ji Mingyu looked at Lu Cheng more highly and was more satisfied with him. Now that you have a boyfriend, you don't want to be close to your mother anymore? She looked at her daughter and joked, lifting her left arm. Yan Zhika's pretty face blushed. She let go of Lu Cheng's hand and took half a step forward, intimately hugging Empress Dowager's arm. She said in a sweet voice, "No." Because of the private engagement, she felt a little guilty toward her parents. Ji Mingyu turned to Lu Cheng and said with a warm smile, "Little Lu, where is your house? Let's go together. We'll send you back on the way. It's troublesome to take a taxi." "Okay, thank you, Auntie." Lu Cheng didn't reject the olive branch from his mother-in-law at all. After saying that, he quietly mouthed to Yan Zhika, indicating that what he wanted to say was actually, "Thank you, Mom." Yan Zhika wrinkled her nose and gave him a coquettish stare. The Yan family's car was parked outside the square in front of the station. Along the way, Ji Mingyu and Yan Zhika walked in the center with umbrellas. Yan Kai and Lu Cheng accompanied them, listening to the mother and daughter chat and occasionally adding a few words. After putting down their luggage and getting on the SUV, Lu Cheng and Yan Zhika sat in the back and clasped their hands together again. After the car started, Yan Kai looked back at his daughter and said with a smile, "Ku, your grandparents want you to live in Zhengke County for a while to accompany them. They're afraid that after you go abroad, they won't be able to see you again." "How can that be? I always come back during the long holidays. It's almost the same as now." Yan Zhika subconsciously defended herself. "Your grandparents mean that it's not convenient for them to make phone calls." Yan Kai smiled gently. Yan Zhika looked up and said, "Then they can video chat online. They can see me directly. Well, this time I have to teach them how to do it." Listening to their conversation, Lu Cheng was a little disappointed. Ku was going to stay at her grandparents' house for a few days. Didn't that mean that he would be separated from her for a while? Their time together before going abroad would be reduced a lot. At this time, Yan Zhika turned to look at him. Her face was flushed, but she said firmly, "Dad, didn't my grandparents say that they want to see Cheng? I'll go with him then." Ji Mingyu, who was driving, couldn't help but laugh. She was both disdainful and proud. She didn't know whether it was a good thing or a bad thing to have a daughter who looked like her. Yan Kai was silent for a while and then said with a complicated smile, "Okay." Lu Cheng was pleasantly surprised and his disappointment disappeared. He couldn't help but pull his little fairy's hand towards him. They looked at each other and smiled. Yan Kai asked, "When are you going?" "A few more days. I have to go to Cheng's house." Yan Zhika's eyes were dizzy, and her voice was getting lower and lower. An ugly daughter-in-law has to meet her parents-in-law, and she's already a legal daughter-in-law. Although Yan Kai was mentally prepared, he still felt inexplicably melancholy. He always felt that his daughter was not grown up yet. How could she be abducted? How could she be at the stage of meeting her parents-in-law? Then you have to prepare well. I didn't know these things back then, and no one taught me. I almost made a fool of myself the first time I came here. Ji Mingyu recalled and said, angrily. Yan Kai thought for a while and said, "Say hello to Lu's parents for me." In Xiaofan, unless it was a blind date, in-laws were not allowed to meet when the younger generation was meeting their parents.
Only when the young couple had a stable relationship and were ready to talk about marriage would they have a few special gatherings to finalize details such as the date.
Thank you, Uncle Yen. Lu Cheng hurriedly returned the greeting on behalf of his parents. Not long after, Ji Mingyu parked the car across the road according to his instructions. Waving goodbye to his real wife, mother-in-law, and father-in-law, Lu Cheng stepped into the familiar yet strange neighborhood. The general environment and layout of the buildings here had not changed. More than 10 years felt like a day, as if it had been sealed in time. Most of the pedestrians were the same, but there were more mottled faces, more white hair, and more recently born faces. The renovation of the new house had been completed at the end of April, but it would be open for a while. According to Xiaofan, they would choose a date to move in October. Along the way, Lu Cheng was greeted by people. Some people treated him as someone else's child and scolded the teenager beside them, which made him laugh secretly. He walked briskly up the stairs, took out the key and opened the door. Before he entered, he saw his mother coming over with a smile. "You're fast. Uncle Yen sent me back," Lu Cheng answered frankly.
He glanced at the living room and asked, "Where's Dad?"
"Him,"
Xiaofan replied unhappily.
"Since he became the factory director, he has been busier than before. He said that he has to live up to the trust of others. He's not home until 6:30 every day."
"Don't mention your dad."
Then she smiled and said, "When is Jacques coming? Your mother has to be prepared in advance." Her daughter-in-law was coming, so she took the initiative to change Yen Jacques to Jacques. "Jacques is fine these days. It's up to you."
Lu Cheng struck while the iron was hot.
"How about tomorrow?" No, I don't know if she'll like the food I prepared for you. I have to do a big cleaning and tidy up the house. I can't see her in such a mess,"
Xiaofan said to herself.
"Also, I have to call your aunt and ask her to send some vegetables from her farm. Jacques comes from a good family and must be tired of expensive food. She has to try something new."
Listening to his mother's nagging and feeling how much she valued her daughter-in-law, Lu Cheng felt warm and couldn't help but laugh.
"What are you laughing at?"
Xiaofan took out her phone and didn't have time to make the call.
"I'm happy for Jacques," Lu Cheng replied humorously. Xiaofan smiled. "I've asked around. Jacques is a good girl. She's gentle and pretty. She was much better than you when we were in number 1 middle school. Didn't you always say good things about her in my ear?"
At the mention of number 1 middle school, she suddenly sighed.
"Cheng, when you were in high school, I was worried that you wouldn't be able to find a girlfriend." "Ah, I wasn't a boring and introverted person in high school. Was I that bad?" Lu Cheng didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He didn't know what to say. Double critical damage from his own mother. After Xiaofan contacted Qi Yan and set the date for the day after tomorrow, Lu Cheng took out his phone and sent a message to Yen Jacques, whose name had been changed to Madam Wife. "My mom said the day after tomorrow. She values you so much that she even asked me what you like to eat. She wants to go to the market to buy it again. She even asked my aunt to send the vegetables that she planted at home over. She also wants to do a big cleaning and do your hair." For the sake of family harmony, he didn't hesitate to praise his mother and daughter-in-law in front of them. Yen Jacques replied with a blushing expression, "Auntie is so nice." "You have to call her mom." Snickering expression. Lu Cheng replied,
"Go away, I don't have a husband like you."
Yen Jacques sent an expression of blowing a whistle for a red card, followed by an expression of lowering her head and smiling shyly. "I'm still not used to calling you that. My face was burning from typing just now. It's so embarrassing." "But it's not the first time you've called me that these days." Raising eyebrows expression. Lu Cheng replied,
"That's when I'm in a daze."
After sending this message, Yen Jacques suddenly came to her senses. Her face was as red as a tomato and she replied bitterly, "I'm not going to talk to you anymore." After a while, Lu Jisheng called and asked Xiaofan and Lu Cheng to go downstairs directly. He said that Erzi would drive to pick them up. "Not bad," Xiaofan said and pulled her son out of the house. They went downstairs and arrived at the entrance of the community. Erzi drove a big Benz this time. He was smoking and chatting with Lu Cheng's father, Lu Jisheng. When he saw Lu Cheng, he immediately put on a smile and greeted him. "Cheng, I finally meet you."
You're the pride of our Lu family.
The sky was getting dark. Lu Cheng glanced at him and found that he did look a little like his cousin Lu Yanwei.
He smiled modestly and said, "You're too kind, Brother Erzi."
You're also awesome. Why did he call him Brother Erzi? Because I still don't know what his real name is. Chapter 428. Haha, I'm just earning hard money. Well, let's get in the car. Mr. and Mrs. C are almost done. We can't keep them waiting for too long. Seeing Lu Cheng, Erzi put out the remaining half of the cigarette in his hand without hesitation, which made Lu Jisheng, who was smoking, stunned for a dozen seconds. Lu Cheng smiled and shook his head. If you're earning hard money, then I'm earning hard money too. Money that could be earned through sweat and blood. Lu Jisheng also put out the cigarette in his hand and threw it in the trash can. He and Qi Fong sat in the back of the Benz. After Lu Cheng fastened his seatbelt, Erzi started the car and drove to Lu Debang's house. He said with a smile, "I watched your national competition from the beginning to the end. You're awesome. Every man dreams of becoming a master, and you're already a master." On the way, he didn't talk about anything else but martial arts. Occasionally, he would praise Lu Cheng in front of Lu Cheng's parents, making the atmosphere relaxed and harmonious.
He must have been in the business for many years.
Lu Cheng commented in his mind, but he pretended to be polite. Arriving at his grandfather's house, Lu Cheng had just finished greeting everyone when his cousin, Ma Shi, dragged him into the room. Her eyes sparkled as she pointed at a pile of posters and notebooks. "Brother, you promised me that you would sign for my classmates," she said with pride and admiration. "At least half of our classmates idolize you. Since I said I'm your idol, I'll sign them even if I have to kneel down." Lu Cheng laughed self-deprecatingly. He took a photo of the pile of posters and notebooks and sent it to his wife. He used an emoji with his head hanging from a beam to express his woes. The troubles of becoming famous. "Look at your calligraphy." Yen Zheka put her hands on her hips and looked at the sky proudly. Seeing her cousin's smiling expression, Ma Shi asked curiously, "Sister-in-law?" Everyone who watched the final competition was impressed by the hug between Lu Cheng and Yen Zheka. "Yeah, it's a blow to me." Lu Cheng shook his head with a smile. He took the pen and began to write his name. His wrist was steady and his strength was moderate. The more he wrote, the worse it got. All right. Finally, he exhaled and ended the activity that destroyed his confidence in calligraphy. Of course, if he wrote the words Qian or Xing, he would still be able to meet people with the help of visualization. "Thank you, second brother. You're so nice." Ma Shi happily organized the posters and notebooks. By the time the brother and sister left the room, the two tables had been put together. Plates and basins of cooked dishes were brought out one by one. The aroma of the dishes lingered in the air. It was different from before. "This is the game I got from Uncle Yu in the village. Try it, it's really good." But in fact, in his eyes as half an insider in the martial arts circle, Cheng should be a powerful man, famous and powerful in the future. He didn't talk about this, but changed the topic and talked about the family affairs in Qingfu County. The lively dinner was coming to an end. At this time, Lu Yanwei, whose face was getting rounder, winked at Lu Cheng, indicating that he had something to say to him. "I'll take the fruit out of the fridge." Lu Yanwei stood up and walked to the kitchen, which made his mother Wang Lily want to wipe her tears. She sighed that her son had finally matured. Lu Cheng went to the kitchen with an excuse to go to the bathroom. He saw Lu Yanwei holding his phone and chatting with someone with a smile on his face. I have a girlfriend," he said to his cousin, a little embarrassed. "Ah, brother, when did you have a girlfriend?" Lu Cheng was shocked. Didn't his cousin go on several blind dates without success? Just right." Lu Yanwei smiled so widely that his eyebrows couldn't be seen. "We met before playing games. But at that time, I failed to start a business several times. I didn't have any confidence and didn't dare to pursue her. Recently, I ran some business with Brother Erzi and got back some confidence and some money." As he spoke, his voice grew softer and softer. Suddenly he exhaled and said hesitantly, "Cheng, I feel like I'm in a dream right now. What if Brother Erzi doesn't succeed in his business or I accidentally offend him? Wouldn't I be back to square one? From his face, Lu Cheng could see that he was worried about personal gains and losses. After thinking about it, he recalled Ke's occasional words and combined them with his own experience and opinion. Brother, you don't have to worry so much. What's important is what you can learn from this. You see, in business, you need money, connections, and foresight. If you follow Brother Erzi, you'll definitely meet a lot of business people. You'll build up your own connections if you deal with them well. Then you'll gain experience and foresight from this project. Even if it doesn't succeed in the future, or they turn against you, you'll become a better Lu Yanwei and can find a way out. Lu Yanwei listened attentively. His expression gradually relaxed as if he had untied a lot of his worries. After a moment of silence, he said self-deprecatingly, Cheng, why do I feel that you're more mature than me? It's as if you're my brother. I almost called you brother just now. Lu Cheng pointed at himself and laughed. Call me brother. Come on. You're so rude. Lu Yanwei's smile brightened. He took out fruits from the fridge and cut them into plates and rinsed them. After dinner, Erzi said that they had finally gathered everyone and proposed to take a family photo. He would find a place to print it digitally. Lu Cheng didn't care. He stood beside his grandfather and completed the photo. After taking the family photo, Erzi took the initiative to ask Lu Cheng to take a picture with the heavenly son of the age. Lu Cheng wouldn't refuse such a small thing. Learning from his little fairy, he stepped back and faced the camera with a smile. After chatting for a long time and sending the Lu family back home, Erzi drove to Qingfu County via the highway. He entered his own company and turned on the computer to print the photos. After carefully looking at the family photo and the one with Lu Cheng for a while, the smile on his face grew wider. He turned over 2 photo frames, put them in, and placed them on the boss's desk, facing the guests. Just then his phone rang. A call came in. Hello, brother He. Why are you calling me so late? I'm in the company. Come over and we can talk face to face. Okay, I'll wait for you. Putting down his phone, the corners of Erzi's mouth curled up. His gaze passed through the window and looked at the lights below. After almost half an hour, the sound of footsteps could be heard. A 30-year-old man in a suit pushed open the door to Erzi's office. He saw Erzi sitting behind the desk, holding a pen in both hands and slowly turning it. Boss Lu, you're in a good mood. The man in the suit smiled reservedly. Just then, his eyes swept over the 2 photo frames on the table and saw the 2 photos. Boss Lu, you don't show your true colors. The man in the suit was stunned at first, then his smile turned into a bright one. Erzi, Lu Yuanzhang's smile became more obvious. In the Lu family, after Lu Jisheng went to take a shower, Lu Cheng and Qi Feng talked about Yan Zheka's favorite dishes. In the midst of their idle chatter, he suddenly remembered something and interrupted them. Mom, do you know Erzi's name? You haven't mentioned it to me. I didn't think about asking before. Qi Feng was stunned for a moment and answered, Lu Yuan, what's Lu Yuan again? Sigh, I don't remember clearly. Speaking of this, the mother and son looked at each other and smiled, throwing this matter to the back of their minds. Who cares what his name is? You're tuning in to the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.